Oh. Hello, Daddy. Nobody clicked that. No. What am I doing? Alright. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh! Oh! Oh!
That kind of worked.
What happened? Did he skip off the rock and go straight up in the air?
Yeah.
He hit right here and it shot him straight up in the air.
That kind of
Oh
worked.
my goodness. Potatoes, boil them, mash them, stick them in the stew. Sorry, not potatoes. And gives Ephema bardic inspiration. Because there's one thing he knows about Ephema is that she loves potatoes.
She loves potato.
All right, clear. Wait. No. No. Oh my god. Oh my god!
Did you just hit me, you son of a bitch? I'm sitting here.
It attacked you. I didn't control it. I didn't control it. I didn't control it.
You.
I had no control over it. I aimed it straight at Midori. Taking massive attrition right here. What are they doing? I've died. Val has died. Queen Val of England has given up the ghost at 66 years of age. She died of old age. A hollowed shell of her former self. Hold on. I just had a bounce again. Okay. Did that last time where I went to dive and it just bounced off of nothing. See, that's what happened. It Somebody type the salt command in chat, please. Exclamation.
Right? Oh no, J Chili, no.
Yes, J Chili. I was thinking
Alright.
Snoz.
Everyone
Wasn't
lives
Snoz?
happily ever after, and nothing bad ever
If
happens.
I don't do it now, it's not gonna happen.
Do it.
Nick, I love
Do
you. I
it.
miss you. Thank you so much, everybody, for donating. Here we go.
Oh god.
It's
Oh
in.
no. It's happening.
It's already happening.
Oh
amazing.
no. This is what regret looks like, chat.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked
Ghost
up.
Pepper fires in the chat.
Oh yeah. Oh shit.
I think it's affecting. Taking quite a few
You-
swigs
you
of that
think?
drink. Oh yeah, it's hitting him.
He said he had a mostly full tissue box. Megan,
Oh,
do you have the
no.
backup tissue box?
Oh
Or
yeah, you're never far from tissues in this house.
that's good.
Okay, report bug. Ship blew up immediately. Very sad. Low effort. Hey, Volatile Toast, how the heck are you? How you doing? It's good to see you here. Gameplay. Did it happen? Did I just send that? Did I just send that? I just need hands up, farts out. Oh! He hits a tune. Oh my god, I cannot believe I'm about to do this. Jay Chili, I hope you're still in chat. Chonkachu, where are you? Come on home and get this big ol' stew. Big ol' stew, big ol' stew. Chonkachu, I choose you. You're the only one that carry us through. So come on home and get this big ol' stew. And Frutal, you get one T6 for Bardic Inspiration.
Thank you, Jay Chili.
Oh my god.
That was amazing. Thank you. That was beautiful.
Oh my goodness. I built a stock market in my capital. It's time to change the rules of the game so that I win. Everybody, Megan, Woof, if you two could just kindly tear down a few of your buildings so that I can win this game.
No.
What do you mean?
Get out.
I don't understand. I built the stock market.
No.
I built the stock market. I get to make the rules. I'm rich.
Let me enunciate. Fuck. There you go. I explained it.
Okay, here we go.
Tell them how you really feel, my love.
That's a spicy meatball.
Be careful out there.
I was born in the darkness. Hold on.
It's a commercial jingle.
Marbles, marbles, you never have enough. They're perfect for booby traps and super weird sex stuff.
Yay!
Good job, leader.
And it's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
What the fuck? What? I heard something weird happen through someone's headphones.
Yeah.
It's a highly technical term. This thingo over here. The face thing.
The bunny, yes.
Let me know when to start. I've talked to
Don't start yet.
I'm
no.
not.
All right.
Somebody started it.
I fucking did it. I did not.
What is that dance song that's like, you know, the quintessential electronic dance song?
Darude Sandstorm?
Maybe that's it. Yep.
Yeah.
Somebody clip that! Oh my god! Somebody clip that! Which this is Megan requested this specifically.
Daddy.
Jay Chili. I hate Caillou so much. I hate Caillou so much.
Come on! That was nothing. Mine is shot.
Hey, thanks for coming by. Thank you so much for the bits and the sound redeems. That's very generous of you. I really appreciate that. Oh my god. Oh my god.
No
I got the 13. There we go.
Oh my goodness. Good night, Andrew.
What the hell is it?
Have a good one.
So-
Taking massive attrition right here. What are they doing? I've died. Val has died. Queen Val of England has given up the ghost.
Trying to do something relevant here. The rest of you shut up.
Died of old age. A hollowed shell of her former self. Posh British.
It be me, Captain Pepper. And of course I started mute. Of course I did. Of course I did.
How's everyone doing tonight? Hold on, I got some pirate tunes here. Thank you for that reverb blurp. I assume that was Flannelsaurus, although I have my OBS minimized right now. Here we go. Got a little bit. How's the music? Is it too loud? Is it too soft? How are we feeling?
Ship name the SS Pepper Patch.
You are
of
without
course.
doubt the worst pirate I've ever heard of.
But you have heard of me.
But you have heard of me. Oh my goodness. I watched that movie recently, the other night. On Sunday, actually. Was it Sunday? Is it that far back? Yeah, it was last Sunday. That's bugging me. It was last Sunday, man. And I had so much fun watching that movie. That is one of my... It's not a...
That's got to be the best pirate I've ever seen. So it would seem.
Music could be a little louder. Okay, let me turn it up a little bit because it. There we go. Just don't want it to fight with my voice. I also don't want it to fight with my train of thought. And Gamer 97, welcome. There's
That's
Megan.
Not just the drugs talking.
That's okay. That's okay, Flannel. But yeah, man, Pirates of the Caribbean, like my favorite Disney ride as a little kid. One of my favorite movies, the first one. The rest of them, I'm kind of like a little bit lukewarm to not so hot on. But man, the first one, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. It's not like a terribly cerebral movie. It's just like a fun adventure movie. But you know there's nothing wrong with that. There's no crime. All right. Well, welcome to the stream, everybody. Gamer97, I am so glad that you made it. Brave Conscript I see in here. Loren, thank you once again for the resub. We've got Flannel, we've got Jinto, we've got Megan, of course. Did I miss anybody? Snoz is lurking right now. And if you haven't said hello, and if you're just feeling like lurking right now and not participating in chat, welcome anyway. Welcome anyway. All right. So, we're gonna get bopping right away. Let me see if this is still capturing right. Yes, it is, but I'm on the wrong slide. All right, welcome to History Corner 2 Dead Man Stream. Flannel, thank you so much for the 100 biddies. Thank you for the 100 doubloons. Sahar. All right. So, for tonight's stream, I've taken some suggestions. I've taken some votes from the community over on the Discord of what kinds of things that we would like to focus on for this stream. And I kind of struck this stream after how people reacted to some of this stuff. Hey, Vinyl. How are you doing? Avast me hearty. How ye be? 8 p.m.? Oh, goodness. Dead Man's Boogaloo. I think I put Buccaneer Boogaloo or something like that. Did I say 8? I might have been mistaken. 7:30. 7:30 it be. But we already be late. As always. Shiraz, welcome. Buccaneer Boogaloo, History Corner 2. Captain Pepper be here with ye lowly crewmates to talk about the history of piracy.
and me wonderful wife, Mad Meg, me first mate, is demanding the grog. The crew be getting restless and demanding the grog. If you go to, if you are of legal drinking age in your jurisdiction, and disclaimer, always drink responsibly. But if you go to the Discord in the food and drink channel, and now that I said it, I better make sure that's accurate. In the food and drink channel, I put a list of ingredients for naval grog, which is the quintessential sort of celebrated pirate beverage. It is a rum drink. It is alcoholic. It is somewhat strong. But if you have those ingredients, iceberg ahead. If you have those ingredients on hand, feel free to gather them about yourself and follow along with me as I make some delicious naval grog. And I spent a little bit of time experimenting with it a couple of days ago. Megan was very happy because she got to be my test subject, and she likes being the test subject for mixed drinks. Oh, Endgamer97. That's cool. That's cool though. Hey, you can enjoy it vicariously through us, and you're gonna get a full ghost pepper version grog drink recipe that you can carry along with you whenever you're able to. It's very, very simple. And so without further ado, let's get to it. We're going to talk about the history of grog. We're going to talk about what it is. We're going to talk about where it got its name from and its association with pirates as we get into the drink. Now, here we go. So grog was long associated with pirates, but it's actually a drink recipe officially issued by the Royal Navy in the mid-1700s. Which, you know, the difference between a pirate and a naval sailor is essentially a distinction without difference, which we're going to be getting to in this stream. So I'm going to quote here from the order issued by British Admiral Edward Old Grogram Vernon. So Admiral Edward Vernon in the Caribbean. He was the commander of the Caribbean fleet of the British Navy in 1740, and his nickname was Old Grogram, which I think Grogram was what I was able to find was he wore like an overcoat. He was famous for wearing a distinctive overcoat made of a material that at that time was called Grogram. I'm not quite sure what that is, but that's where the drink's nickname of grog came from, right? So Admiral Vernon gave this order to his ship captains on the 21st of August, 1740. Whereas it manifestly appears to be the unanimous opinion of both captains and surgeons that the pernicious custom of the seamen drinking their allowance of rum in drams, often at once, is attended with many fatal effects to their morals as well as their health, and which cannot be better remedied than by ordering their half pint of rum to be daily mixed with a quart of water, which that they that are good husbandmen may purchase sugar and limes to make them more palatable to them. And so right there are the key ingredients to grog. You have your sailor's daily ration of rum, and the sailors were drinking it all at once and getting smashed, drinking their daily rum ration all at once and getting drunk, and making mistakes on the job or committing acts that are unbefitting a sailor of the Royal Navy, things like that. And so Old Grogram ordered them to water down their rum. And he made an allowance that the good husbandmen of the ship may purchase sugar and limes to make the drink taste better for the men, for morale's purposes, and also because citrus from the lime actually prevents scurvy, which was a big problem on long-haul sea voyages, which the men of the Royal Navy would often, and pirates would often embark upon. All right. One is a country pirate, the other is just a pirate. Okay. And so, anyone who watched the drink mixing stream back in December, you might remember that the Old Fashioned is generally regarded as the first cocktail. In fact, the Cock's Tail was the original name of the Old Fashioned cocktail. However, grog does follow what would become sort of the Holy Trinity template for cocktails centuries later. And that is a spirit, something to add some sweetness, and something to add some sour or bitter flavor. Oh, Flannel with the hand up. Talk to us about the scurvy fact that you have. And I'm going to move on here. So the recipe for grog was passed along to illiterate sailors and cooks' hands by a simple rhyme. And it was this: 1 of sour, 2 of sweet, 3 of strong, and 4 of weak. Okay. This refers to the proportion of citrus juice for scurvy, sugar for taste, rum for courage, and water for morals and health, in Admiral Vernon's words, to be mixed into the drink. And so, probably for a single drink, I've got this portion up on your screen here. Half an ounce of lime juice, 1 ounce of sugar syrup, or 2 teaspoons of sugar, 1.5 ounces of dark rum, and 2 ounces of water. Or if you want to make a larger size drink, you would go 1 ounce lime, 2 ounce sugar syrup, 3 ounce rum, and 4 ounce water. It does water it down quite a bit, so it does call for a lot more sugar than I would in other drinks, but it also contains a lot more water than other drinks that I drink. Lemons were far superior for presenting security than limes were, but at the time, every lemon-producing country was not on good terms with the British Empire, such as for limes from their Caribbean colonies. Flannelsaurus, that is 100% true. That was actually during the Napoleonic Wars, because so during now. Limes were a lot more accessible in the Caribbean, but lemons were chiefly grown in Spain, and that's where the British would get their lemon supplies from. But when they got cut off from Spain during the Napoleonic Wars by Napoleon's continental system, they had to resort to limes instead, and that is where the British get their slightly pejorative nickname of limey from. If you ever heard somebody refer to British people as limeys, that's the old question of the day. We need a pirate-themed question of the day. Let me see what we have here. Oh, I know. Let's go timers. Let's go question of the day. Who is your favorite pirate, real or fictional? There we go. Yeah, Flannel. Love it. Well, you are in good company here. Okay, so I'm gonna show you my mix, because that mix of 1, 2, 3, and 4 isn't terribly well balanced to the taste of modern drinkers. It's not far off, right? It's not far off, but it does need a little bit of tweaking. I personally take down the sweet quite a bit, right? So I played with it a little bit, and I've come up with this mix instead. Now, before you follow along, hey, a dark and stormy. Now, before you follow along with my recipe, right, a couple things to note is that I love natural lime flavor, and I like my mixed drinks a little bit more on the soury, citrusy side. So I am going to be mixing a generous amount of lime juice into this. If you're not somebody who likes sour drinks and you're not somebody who likes the natural lime flavor, then you might want to hold back on your lime a little bit. Okay. Blackbeard was specifically from Assassin's Creed. Blackbeard was an actual person. Edward Teach was Blackbeard. We're not going to be talking about actual pirates from the Caribbean theater on this stream, because I feel like that is very well trodden ground. Yeah, lime, rum, and ginger beer. All right, so I've got my water already in my drink mixer. You do not need to use a drink mixer if you don't want to. If you are going to stir it, you just need to make sure that you need to stir it really well. All right, but I'm going to be using a drink mixer. I've already got my water in here, so I'm going to make a double portion because I'm making this for Megan as well. So I'm going to have half of it and Megan's going to have half. So this is the juice of a full lime. So for a single drink or a double size, you know, for a single drink, you want the juice of half a lime. Or if you're not a big fan of lime, maybe a generously sized lime wedge squeezed into it. Okay, there we go. All right. And then what do I have next? Okay. Half an ounce of sugar syrup, right? As opposed to 1 ounce. So half the portion that is recommended. Okay. This is a Demerara sugar syrup. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, so how do I make a sugar syrup? You boil equal parts water and sugar. So you have water at a strong boil. You pour in an equivalent amount of sugar, so you need to measure, and you whisk it, still boiling, until it all disappears. If you do that, you know, you may think, I've got all this sugar syrup now, what am I going to do with it? If you do that, that sugar syrup will last in your fridge for months. The sugar syrup I'm pouring in here is syrup that I've had in the fridge for about 5 months, and it's perfectly fine. That's because the sugar went in boiling hot. There's no contamination. It's in a sealed container. Hello, Cauliflumps. Welcome. All right. 2 ounces of dark rum. I am using Kraken spiced rum. Ye Cauliflumps. Ye cauliflower. Which is where is it? Where does this come from? I feel like it says on the bottle. Is it like Trinidad or something like that? I don't remember. But we got Kraken spice rum. You want a nice dark rum. Something that'll give you big, bold flavors. I like the Kraken because it has a nice vanilla finish to it. And I'm going to put... Yeah, woof. I'm going to put 4 shots in this. There we go. 4 shots of rum. Remember, I'm making this for myself and Megan, so I'm not drinking a 4-shot drink all by myself. All right. And then I have 6 shots of water in here. Right? So I've actually modified it a little bit to be a little bit more spirit heavy for me. If you don't like your drink spirit forward, do twice as much water as rum. How you doing, Cauliflumps? All right, so that's all the ingredients. I got my shaker here. I got my ice in this one. Okay. Oh, vinyl. Get your drink. Just a little bit of a tap. And I'm going to need to stand up for this, for the leverage, so enjoy the chair stream a little bit. Okay. You just want it cold enough. If you start to feel, if your hands start to feel that sort of, that sort of mild pain, like not pain, but like a little bit of mild burn from the metal container, you know it's ready. If you didn't have sugar syrup, you're going to need to make sure that if you put actual sugar, just straight sugar in, you're going to need to make sure that you stir that really, really good because sugar does not dissolve well in cold liquids. All right, we're going to do the pour here. Look at that. Look at that. It looks a little bit cloudy. Frog tastes suspiciously like iced tea. It's a cloudy drink, right? It is not a clear drink. That's because of the sugar we put in it. There's quite a generous portion as well, but remember it's quite watered down. Now, if you think to yourself, what is dark sugar syrup plus water, perhaps carbonated water if you want something a little bit fun. It's basically cola, right? And so grog is almost an early version of rum and coke. So I'm gonna squeeze my lime into me first mate, Mad Meg. Squeeze that into her glass. I'm gonna rub the lime around the inside rim of the glass so that she gets a nice hit of lime with her first sip. Get a little bit of that fruit flesh off of there. And yours is ready, Megan, to come down and grab when you are prepared. Then I'm gonna put my my portion in there. Whoop. And I'm gonna do the same thing all the way around the inside rim of the glass. And here we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Naval Grog 1740, updated for modern drinkers. Cheers. Cheers. How do you like it?
Love it.
Yeah.
Very good.
Tasty, eh? Now, another thing that you can do if you want it like a little bit spicy, and by spicy I don't mean hot, but if you want it like, you know, a little bit more of like a rounded spicy kind of flavor to it, you can put a dash of Angostura bitters in there. I'm feeling like I want more of the fruit forward flavor, but the Angostura will like balance out a lot of the like really punchy lime flavor. I'm feeling like I want that tonight. So that's where I'm going. So there's Pirate Grog, and it was a drink mix for anybody who's just tuning in and missed it before. It was a drink mix issued to sailors of the Royal Navy to get them to not drink all their rum in one go. Did the pirates have any ice? No. Ice was most certainly a luxury item, well until the Industrial Revolution. All right. So let's learn a little bit about pirates, shall we? Our question of the day as well is, who is your favorite pirate, real or fictional? All right, here we go. So, what is piracy? So the word piracy or pirate originates from the Greek word pirates, or I don't know if I'm pronouncing that properly because I'm not ancient Greek. It basically means a brigand, right, or a bandit. It actually originally comes from the ancient Greek word para, which means to attempt. In other words, a pirate is one who attempts to take other people's stuff. Also, Toby Kinty, welcome. How the heck are you doing? How the heck are you doing? I hope you're having a great night. I'm really excited about this stream because I got to talk history and hang out with a whole bunch of lovely people. Peril, the word peril, also comes from para, making peril and piracy cognates, which means that they do not, you know, they have a shared linguistic ancestor, right? They developed separately into separate words, but they both come from the same root word all the way back in history, which I think is kind of fitting. Oh, Vinyl, back with the dark and stormy. Right on. All right, cheers, Vinyl. Cheers. Tink. All right. Okay, so here we go. Let's talk about some myths of piracy, because just like in my last History Corner stream about the medieval Catholic papacy, you know, I started off with some myths, some historical myths about it then. I'm going to start off with some historical myths about piracy. So let's take a look at what those myths are and where they might have come from. So once again, love this movie. I'm gonna be referring to this movie as basically, you know, a whole bunch of falsehoods that we believe about pirates. Doesn't mean I don't love the movie. I love this movie. So our modern understanding of historical piracy is pretty heavily influenced by a mythology that's been perpetuated by sailors and pirates themselves, because pirates, if they are able to spread a fearsome reputation around and get ships to surrender because they're afraid of that reputation without firing a shot, then that's actually good for the pirates. Pirates didn't like to fight. They didn't like to be chased after. So, if they can develop this mythology and this propaganda about them that scares people into doing what they want, then that's even better for them. This mythology has later been sort of expanded upon and romanticized in romantic literature and in modern media. A sunken ship means less loot, right? They would rather the crew surrender. Basically, this myth goes that pirates are adventurers, swashbucklers, thieves with a heart of gold. This isn't necessarily untrue, but it's not necessarily true either. They're often portrayed as rebels, as anarchists. They're revolutionaries seeking to build a free society beyond the reach of oppressive European monarchies. We're going to get into why that's like a little bit of a myth a bit later on. But there's very little evidence to suggest that pirates were, by and large, politically motivated to get into society building and things like that. Bruce Campbell Soup, what a hero! 500 bits. Thank you so much. Cheers to you, Bruce. Thank you so much. That's so generous of you. Another myth about pirates is that there's and one that's very much perpetuated by Pirates of the Caribbean is that there's some sort of common code of honor, often written down like it's some kind of pirate constitution, that governs relationships between pirate ships and pirate crews, as if pirates coexist uneasily in some kind of stateless nation with each other. Rage Against the Colonial Machine, right? We'll get into what pirates' codes are and are not a little bit later on in the stream. But when you see in Pirates of the Caribbean, when Keira Knightley's character says, "Parley, parley, I have the right to parley. It's in the code," right? And everybody's got to follow the code and whatever. There is no code, right? There were pirate codes. They were definitely not that. Right? They were something entirely different, but they weren't. There was no pirate government. There was no pirate council, right? There were pirate alliances that were short-lived. We're going to talk about one at the end of the stream, but that's largely a myth. And pirates did not view themselves as having too much in common with one another, other than their vocation, and certainly did not transcend national boundaries. So all these things, the romanticism, the revolutionary character of the pirates, the desire to build a new society, the idea that they saw themselves as united together against what Toby just called the colonial machine, right? This is not really. Can I post the measurements for Grog in the Discord? Absolutely, Flannel. This actually says less about what actually motivated pirates, and it says more about the lens through which Americans, who are the biggest producers and consumers of entertainment media in the modern world, the lens through which Americans view their history. Even if we're talking about pirate adventures that took place far away from American shores and are not directly part of American history, the way Americans digest their history, understand their history, and create texts about their history, which could be movies, music, TV shows, comic books, whatever, heavily influences this view of pirates. Right? And so we're going to dive into a little bit of historiography here. History is about, discussing past events and peoples and patterns. Historiography is about diving into how history is talked about
right? So we're going to touch really briefly on a little bit of historiography to explain where this mythology comes from, at least in my view, and in the view of some others from my research. Okay, so we're going to talk about the frontier thesis here, and it's the idea that the American frontier, and I'm quoting here, the American frontier established liberty by releasing Americans from European mindsets and eroding old dysfunctional customs. Sound familiar when we're talking about pirate fiction? Far away from central authorities and the military force that those central authorities relied on to enforce their rule, free land and an abundance, I'm quoting Turner, the historian that authored this here, free land and an abundance of natural resources open to a fit people replaced aristocracy, traditionalism, and authoritarianism with values of, once again, get ready for some familiar pirate tropes, democracy, meritocracy, and egalitarianism. Okay, this thesis has been so pervasive in the American education system since historian Frederick Jackson Turner first published it in 1893 that it fundamentally shapes how Americans view themselves and their place in the world. Even if they're not ingesting media and ideas informed by the frontier thesis through the history classroom, people who did learn it through the history classroom end up growing up and becoming television executives, actors, directors, writers, artists, musicians, right? And so, you know, you learn just as much about a way to look at history and a way to look at yourself and your place in the world from other media, right? From the way historical ideas have been propagated around the other media, other forms of media, especially entertainment media, as you do in your history classroom. Okay. Now, since even goofy escapist adventure movies are products of culture, we're bound to use our most deeply ingrained, even unconscious assumptions to make sense of the actions of past peoples. And now I'm not saying that the frontier thesis is wrong. There's actually a lot in the frontier thesis that I think holds some merit. And I'm also not saying that there weren't pirates who thought this way. It's just a reminder that history teaches us two things. One, the way we look at past peoples and events say as much about us as it does about them. And the second thing it reminds us is that there's no such thing as a value-neutral cultural product, right? I don't think that anybody who worked on Pirates of the Caribbean movies were thinking to themselves, frontier thesis in their mind. It's just that they have been inculcated, they've been raised in a culture that's full of this stuff, and so this is just naturally the way that they look at things. This is naturally the way they look at conflict. And it's not a lie, right? It's not a lie, because these people don't think that they're lying. And frankly, they think they're just telling a goofy adventure story. They don't think that it means anything, but it does mean something. And it does carry these base assumptions around with it. So, with some pirate mythology out of the way, let's take a quick survey look at the first 3,000 or so years of recorded pirate history and see if we can come up with some generalizations about who pirates were and why piracy happened. All right. Yeah, American media consumers do love a good rebel story, and American media producers do as well. And frankly, I love a good rebel story, right? Doesn't mean that the actual people who lived in the actual time being portrayed actually thought that way, right? And that's something that we need to remember, and a lot of people don't make that distinction. Rebel without a grog. Okay, so in ancient times, the Sea Peoples, right? They lived around the or they were active around the 14th century BCE. So we're talking between the years 1300 and 1200 BCE. These people were this loose confederation, probably not even a confederation, just a whole bunch of separate people. Armies and navies and communities and things like that got together. And basically, they were both a symptom and a cause of the Bronze Age collapse, which was the most severe societal collapse that we know of in human history. The Bronze Age collapse would The Bronze Age collapse kind of deserves its own history corner, and it's a topic that really interests me. But the Bronze Age collapse was so severe in the ancient Near East and ancient Greece and Egypt as well, that written language nearly died out entirely. And now the Sea Peoples contributed to this process of societal collapse, but they were also driven to their behavior by the societal collapse, right? So likely these people were driven to piracy by natural disasters, climate change, and the decline in vital trade, and the collapse of civic institutions that were happening in that era. There were some volcanic eruptions in the Aegean Sea. This is where the Atlantis myth comes from, right? There were some volcanic eruptions. There were natural disasters that were exacerbated by poor farming techniques, leading to famines, leading to decline in trade, leading to increases in war. And all these people who are poor, displaced, have nowhere else to turn to feed themselves and to feed their families, they turn to piracy, right? And this makes the last two problems of decline in vital trade and the collapse of civic institutions around the ancient Near East even worse. Right? And so the societal collapse in ancient Greece and the Near East was so profound that modern historians actually still don't really know who the Sea Peoples were. All we have is ancient Egyptian propaganda, like the carving that you see here pictured, to give us clues about who the Sea Peoples actually were. Some people think that it's like, Atlantis fighting a war against the other kingdoms of the ancient Near East or whatever. I don't think so. Doesn't pop up in any books, but I had an explanation for the Sea Peoples and the Celestial Serenade. That's amazing. Flannel? That is so generous of you. Flannel paying forward the gift they got from Jay Chili to Toby Kinty. That's so generous of you. Enjoy those emotes, Toby. So that's the Sea Peoples, and their predations assisted in collapsing all of the ancient Near Eastern society so much that the only civilization to survive was ancient Egypt. But the ancient Egypt that survived was very different from the ancient Egypt that preceded it in the Old Kingdom era. Right. Next up, another example of historical piracy is piracy in the Greco-Roman times, right? So ancient Greece and ancient Rome, after the recovery of the ancient world from the Bronze Age collapse. So during the Greco-Roman era, the pirates disrupted trade across the eastern Mediterranean from their hideouts along the Adriatic coast, modern day like Croatian coast, and southeastern Turkey. Their piracy ended with the establishment of a strong Roman fleet in the western Mediterranean that then moved into the east to deal with these pirates that were messing up Roman shipping, and concerted anti-piracy military campaigns. One of which there's a famous anecdote which, by all accounts, is like mostly true but highly romanticized, where Julius Caesar, before he was a tip-top Roman commander, when he was an officer in the Roman army, he was on one of these anti-piracy campaigns in the Eastern Mediterranean. He got captured by pirates in southeastern Turkey, brought back to their hideout. They posted ransom for Caesar to Rome for something like 2,000 talents, and Caesar was actually offended. Right? Julius Caesar was offended, and he said that the ransom was too small, and he demanded that they post a ransom 10 times higher. Rome paid the ransom, and when the pirates were going to return him, he turned around and he tapped the pirates on the shoulder and he laughed with them and he said, thanks for hanging out with me, guys. By the way, when I get back to Rome, I'm going to ask the Senate to give me a command of a fleet, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to kill you all. And so he went back to Rome, he asked the Senate for a fleet, and he went back to the Eastern Mediterranean, tracked down that pirate band, captured them, and killed them all. but for their good treatment of him. And this is what's pictured here as Julius Caesar finding the pirates and capturing them. Are you telling me Julius Caesar didn't crucify Xena, warrior princess? He did. You saw it on the documentary. You saw it on the documentary. Documentary television series. Now, because of their good treatment of him, Julius Caesar...
Squelchy, me hearty, how ye be doing? Me sash be falling down.
Now, because of their good treatment of them, Caesar actually did not crucify them. He slit their throats and gave them a quick death instead. That's the legend anyway, and some parts of that story are corroborated. Caesar did participate in anti-piracy campaigns. He was held hostage by pirates. He did come back and help to destroy the pirates afterwards. Try buckling my sash. It works for your swash. That's a good idea. Now, buckle in. Next, we're going to talk about the Vikings. Now, the Vikings are the most infamous example of medieval piracy, although not the only example of medieval piracy. And these guys could get an entire History Corner stream of their own. For now, I just want to highlight a few things about the Viking raiders as a historical phenomenon. So, Vikings as a historical phenomenon. Right? So, most Vikings took up piracy, which is what Viking was. When I say most Vikings, if you were a Viking, you were a pirate, right? Being a Viking was a vocation, it was a job. It was piracy, is what they called piracy. So most of these people took up piracy because of economic or political factors that pushed them out of their homelands. So for the economic factors, Scandinavia, the Viking homeland, was running out of productive land, and its population was booming during the medieval warm period. So there's that climate coming back and affecting history, right? So the medieval warm period, temperatures were warmer on average between the years, let's say like 800 and 1100, I believe, 800 and 1200. That meant more productive crops. That meant that population boomed, right? But because the population was booming, they were running out of productive land, which there's not a lot of in Scandinavia in the first place for farming. And many of these men saw little chance of earning a livelihood at home. And so they were pushed to leave home and venture out onto the seas in search of a way to make a living. The political factors were that Scandinavia, at the same time as its population was booming, the Scandinavian kingdoms were rapidly coalescing from little independent tribes and villages into kingdoms under strongman rulers, sometimes living in faraway capitals, and sometimes whose laws would be seen as oppressive to people living in an environment where they're used to their village chief and their village assembly being the final word on what the rules are. Some of these people left because they faced criminal prosecution for not accepting the rule of these kings, others because they were political rivals to the new kings, and still others because they just chafed under the new laws and institutions of a more centralized government. Have I ever seen a Viking Vike? I have. Viking is a verb. To go a Viking. Now, piracy in Western Europe was only an option for the Vikings because the maritime defenses of the early medieval states were weak, right? If the medieval states had the capability to defend their ships, defend their trade, defend their rivers and their coastlines from these Viking raids, it would have been a disincentive for the Vikings to raid them. We don't hear of many Viking raids occurring in the Black Sea or the Eastern Mediterranean because of the Eastern Roman Navy, which was the only naval power in Europe. Instead, Scandinavians conducted trade and sold their services as mercenaries in the Eastern Roman Empire. And then in emptier areas like Iceland and Greenland, or lightly settled regions like Russia, the Scandinavians instead became settlers, where they found land that was open for them to settle on, right? So the Vikings later on in the Viking Age, you know, around the year 1000, they were actually quite eager to give up Viking and settle down as farmers whenever the opportunity presented itself,
right? So this concept that, you know, Vikings will be Vikings until the day I die, right? Not true, right? As soon as they had the opportunity to make, you know, what we would describe as, you know, a more honest living or a legitimate living by settling down, getting some land, farming, not adventuring, not getting killed, not fighting in big wars, they took that opportunity. And in fact, they made significant changes to their lifestyle, including changing their religion in order to do so, right? So when the opportunity presented itself in Iceland, in England, in Russia, and Normandy, in France, the northern coastline of France between Brittany and Flanders, right? They actually really jumped at the chance to settle down, give up their Viking ways, hang up their swords and their shields and their spears, beach their boats, and get to that farming life. Now, medieval Islamic piracy in the Western Mediterranean follows a similar pattern to the Viking raids, but we're going to talk about a little bit more about that later. So yeah, here we are. I lost my place on my document. I think the last piece of ancient times piracy that we're going to talk about here is piracy in the Far East by the Wokou, or Japanese pirates. So we see a similar One Piece. Yeah, the One Piece. There we go. There we go, Shiraz. One Piece. Believe it. I'm going to be king of the pirates. I've never watched a single episode of One Piece. Do you believe that? And I've heard that they're at like 1,000 episodes or something like that, so I don't think I'm ever going to watch One Piece. Because now I'm too intimidated to start. Oh my goodness. I don't have the time for that. That's like a life pursuit to start One Piece now. Alright, so we can see a similar pattern of desperation meeting opportunity in Japan as we did to the Vikings in Europe, where pirates called Wokou raiders raided Korea and China in the Middle Ages. You know, a little bit after the Viking Age had come to a close in Europe. So the Mongol conquest of China and Korea and the subsequent invasions of Japan economically devastated the outlying islands of Western Japan. Squanchy, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that properly. You might be. I don't know if you're laughing at my pronunciation. I'm ready to be laughed at for it. So China and Korea divided their military resources to deal with the China and Korea diverted their military resources to deal with the Mongol threat to the north, which left their coasts vulnerable to piracy from these desperate Japanese communities. You're laughing at woke coup? Squanchy, I'll take it. I'll take it. I am under no illusion that I'm pronouncing that properly. So the shogunate government of Japan was outraged by these piratical activities by their own subjects, and they actually, when they found out that Japanese villagers on the outlying islands of Western Japan were raiding the coasts of Korea, the shogun ordered a violent retaliation against the Japanese communities that were involved. Oh my goodness. Anon is the true hero here. Thank you so much, Anon. That's so generous of you. Squanchy, enjoy those emotes. Feel free to use them against me as whatever I pronounce Woku. Yeah, who are you, Anon? Vinyl sus. Detective Vinyl. Detective Vinyl on the job. Alright, so mostly the reasons for the shogun retaliating so violently against its own citizens was an attempt by shoguns to tighten their shaken control over their own subjects during the Warring States period of Japan, and to ensure free flow of the kind of trade with China and Korea that their government relied on to keep Japan reasonably prosperous during that time. So when the Mongols established the Yuan dynasty,
get ready to laugh at me about that too. When the Mongols established the Yuan dynasty in China and Korea, they launched 2 failed invasions of Japan. You can learn more about these failed invasions of Japan by playing the hit video game The Ghost of Tsushima. Interestingly enough, Tsushima, an actual real island in Japan, was the haven for Woku pirate activity. It was the epicenter of pirate activity in Japan. I don't know if the game went into that or not, but it was. So these failed invasions of Japan once again left the outlying regions of Western Japan devastated and the coast of the mainland undefended from future pirate raids. This ushered in another wave of Woku piracy, but this time the shogunate turned a blind eye because they were riding high from their military victories against the Mongol Yuan dynasty, and they saw an advantage in letting a restless and desperate population prey upon the invaders. The Japanese government started taking a proactive role against the Woku once again shortly after the fall of the Yuan, as the shoguns normalized their relationship with their mainland neighbors again. And the new Joseon Kingdom in Korea showed its might by invading the Japanese pirate haven of Tsushima. Although Woku piracy continued until the 1600s, the treaty signed between Joseon and the shogunate of Japan following this invasion of Tsushima ended the distinctively Japanese phase of East Asian piracy. And from then on, so-called Woku piracy, which was generally referred to the Japanese, even though it kept this name, the presence of Japanese raiders within Woku pirate raids declined very, very sharply after this, and the pirate raids tended to be propagated more by fellow Chinese and Korean peoples. All right, so what does this little survey of ancient piracy actually mean? So piracy, we can conclude, is as old as the practice of moving cargo and people by water, and piracy is still with us today. A lot of people back in the early 2000s were very surprised and somewhat bemused and amused to hear about Somali piracy, and there's all sorts of memes about it from Captain Phillips and things like that. The Somali pirates have mostly been dealt with now, but we still do have piracy on the high seas today. Between all of these historical exemplars, we can see that there are some common push and pull factors that drive people into a life of piracy, right? So the kind of push factors are that people turn to piracy because of a lack of economic opportunity or social stability within their communities. This is mainly this may be due to a breakdown in civic institutions, or paradoxically, as we saw with the Vikings, the strengthening of civic institutions that leads to political or religious persecution. Piracy was a political tool. Later medieval Norse, Arab, and Christian rulers alike used piracy as a release valve to put what they deemed to be antisocial elements in their societies to work for the state by pointing them towards their political rivals. So, just like the shoguns of Japan, just like those medieval Norse kings, just like the Islamic caliphates in the Middle East and North Africa, they have this dispossessed and restless and listless population that might turn to banditry and criminality in their territory. And so what they do instead is they say, let's encourage them to go do those things to other people, right? And let's use things like patriotism or religion or things like that to incentivize them to do that. Squanchy, we are going to learn that there is a lot of sanctioned piracy, right? And the difference between a pirate and a legitimate naval officer is very, very thin indeed. Piracy can even be a vocation. It can be a career, right? When a central government is weak, far away, or unable to provide legitimate economic opportunities, despondent peoples with maritime skills living near shipping routes tend to form pirate gangs. This is true of the Vikings, the much romanticized Pirates of the Caribbean, and today's pirates off of the Somali coast, as well as
the Pirate Bay. So those are the push factors. Those are the things that tend to push people into piracy historically. Historically, there's also some pull factors, some things where these people who are already being pushed into life kind of look at, you know, that seaway over there, right? Or that waterway over there and say, it would be a good idea for me to commit some piracy over there. So some pull factors are that piracy flourishes in areas where maritime defenses are weak and political control is uncertain. Medieval Catholic states lacked the fortifications, navies, and standing armies to protect themselves from Vikings and Arab pirates. The Caribbean is a patchwork of colonies, only tenuously held together by their mother countries, and these colonies were often changing hands quite rapidly. The Caribbean archipelago was impossible for even the naval superpower of the day, Spain, to fully patrol. Wokou piracy in the East China Sea and the Sea of Japan was most intense during periods of instability and military weakness in China and Korea, such as during the collapse of the Yuan dynasty. All right, so we have some, there we go, no one expects the Spanish Caribbean. There's some water after all that talking. There's a lot of talking during these History Corner streams. So we've taken a survey look at ancient examples of piracy. We've taken a look at what they have in common and what they can tell us about the nature of piracy from the fact that they have all these things in common. Let's take a look. Let's take a real quick survey look at pirates in the Caribbean. All right, so here we have a gentleman named Max Weber. We're going to get into a little bit of political theory here. We're going to talk about piracy as a business and the politics of piracy, right? So Max Weber is a German sociologist, one of the real founding figures in modern sociology, as well as in political science. Now, he gave us a definition for the state that continues to be a pretty widely accepted working definition even today. Right? So Weber defined the state as an organization that has a monopoly over the legitimate use of force inside of a given territory. And so if you think right now, who has the right to legitimately use force within your national jurisdiction right now? It's the police, which are agents of the government. It's the military, which are agents of the government, right? It's the state. Okay? The use of force or the implicit threat that the government may use force on you underpins our entire legal and government system, right? Whether you agree with it or not, that's pretty much the way it is, right? Whether you think that's a good or a bad thing, and I'm passing no judgments here, right? That's pretty much the way it is, right? So even the gentlest prosecution of the smallest crime carries an implicit threat of force by the state. Here's an example for you, right? If you borrow a book from the public library and you refuse to return it, you get fined, right? If you refuse to pay that fine, you get barred from library services. If you attempt to access those services anyway by refusing to leave the library, you're going to get escorted off the premises by the police. They'll call the police on you and the police will take you away. If you refuse to be escorted off the premises by the police, I'll let you guess what's going to happen. Right? So piracy in the post-medieval era arose in the context of the strengthening and the centralization of states around the world. But this didn't happen evenly around the world. It happened more rapidly. The state structures became stronger, more prevalent, and more centralized in some parts of the world more quickly than others, right? And it's this imbalance that creates a vacuum of power that piracy comes in and fills. Right? So in territories where states were unable to effectively use its monopoly of force, even where states may claim that territory is theirs, we see piracy flourish, right? So in some map room in Europe, the European monarchs carved up the Caribbean, right? They drew lines on the map and they said, this island is mine, that island is yours, right? This seaway is ours. They weren't actually able to enforce it, right? And so the people who are actually there with the ships and the guns and the sails, right? And the means to take what they wanted by force, they got to basically do whatever they wanted, and thus piracy flourished. Can I have Prince Edward Island? I like potatoes. You can, right? So, this chiefly occurred in two very important territories. The Caribbean, which at the time they called the West Indies, because Christopher Columbus landed on, I believe he landed on Hispaniola, and saw brown-colored people who spoke a language he didn't understand, and he said, these must be Indians. And thought he landed in India. And so that's why, unfortunately, we have this practice. Yes, Christopher Columbus, indeed. I do not have a lot of good things to say about Christopher Columbus. In fact, pretty much none. Down with Columbus Day, up with National Indigenous Peoples Day. That's all I say. He sailed the ocean blue, though. Yeah, and he was the only one to do so. Anyway, moving away from good old Chris Columbus, yeah. So the Caribbean, which was called the West Indies at the time, and the Indian Ocean, which was called the East Indies, a more appropriate name, were huge magnets for piracy that we know today because of a few defining factors. Trade in these two regions was extremely rich. Okay, that's factor number one. We're going to talk about why that trade was rich here. Okay, so Spanish gold and silver from Latin American mainland trafficked through the Caribbean, right? The only thing that China wanted to trade for was precious metal. And so Spain found a whole bunch of precious metal in Mexico and in Central America. And so they mined it and they shipped it back to Europe to traffic on to Asia through the Caribbean. And that's why there was a whole lot of, you got the big Spanish treasure ships and you got the pirates that tried to raid it for that sweet Mexican gold and silver. Sugar from the Caribbean islands was insanely profitable. In its place, so here's an example of how profitable the sugar industry was. So in its peace negotiations with Britain after the 7 Years' War in 1763, which was a prelude to the American Revolution, a lot, the outcome of those peace talks had a lot to do with the American Revolution happening shortly thereafter. It also explains why a Canada, a former French colony, instead became a British colony. We're going to talk about why in a second here. So in those peace negotiations, France was given a choice by the victor, Britain, over two territories, right? Britain had held on to two territories, and they said, well, France, you can have one back. We'll give one back to you, okay? We will give you all of Canada back, or you can keep the teeny tiny Caribbean island of Guadeloupe instead. Without hesitation, France said, you can keep Canada, we want Guadeloupe back, right? Because Guadeloupe had a lot of sugar production. That is how valuable sugar was to European markets. Exactly, Squanchy. It was white gold. Squanchy, that's why the French in Quebec do not really have a whole lot of interest in having some sort of a relationship with France, right? You would think that Quebecois nationalists today, things like that, Quebecois nationalists would have some sort of romantic attachment to France. They don't at all, and that's part of the reason why, right? So it's kind of funny. All of Canada traded away to get back little Guadeloupe and its sugar plantations. Yeah, it is amazing how things we find in our cupboard every day were so valued and treasured. It is amazing. Like, sugar is so ubiquitous. The amount of sugar that I put in this drink would have been exorbitant to European people at this time. All right, so there's Spanish gold and silver, there's sugar. Now let's go to the Indian Ocean. The Indian Ocean was the world's wealthiest trade zone, and access to that trade was a central pillar of all Western European countries' foreign policy since the mid-1400s. So that's the whole reason for Columbus sailing the ocean blue. It's the whole reason for Europeans sailing around Africa and setting up little trading posts and colonies in Africa was access to trade in the Indian Ocean. It is actually not really sugary, Snoz. It's not really sugary at all. I have had lots sugarier drinks. I'll say this. If you mix a drink with like Coke or Sprite, there's lots more sugar in that. I have a thing of clothes I've used once. If I had these all the time, I would have been a millionaire. Yeah, it's true. It's true. 100% Flannelsaurus. In fact, if you ever invent a time machine, you know, in Back to the Future when Doc Brown opens up the suitcase and has like the currency and all the different eras, if you're going back to medieval times or back to this period of time, you should just bring peppercorns with you, because a few peppercorns would buy you a mansion. Yep. Most expensive spice in the modern day is saffron. Saffron is worth more than its weight in gold. A lot more than its weight in gold, because it's, you know, just a little thing of saffron. Wow. Okay. So one of the factors that piracy flourished in these two regions was that trade in the regions was extremely rich. Another factor was that the states in these regions, so European, African, and Asian alike, all lacked the naval capabilities to protect valuable trade in this area, right? So the European colonizers in the Caribbean actually lacked the ability to enforce law on the high seas. Getting back to Max Weber, if you don't have a monopoly on the use of force and the capability to actually exercise that monopoly in a given territory, it's not really part of the state. The state doesn't really exist there. Okay. Another factor is that maritime geography in these regions were difficult to fully survey and patrol, making it easy for pirates to establish hidden bases on little islands, in sheltered bays, things like that. And then lacking the ability to effectively project force into these regions themselves, these states instead relied on independent parties based in the area to act on their behalf. In other words, sanctioned piracy. Squanchy. Pick up a dollar store pepper grinder, exactly. Sports magazines Back to the Past, yeah. All right, so with the we're going to talk about pirates and privateers and what they are. So with the exception of the Spanish Armada in the Caribbean, the line between a ship of the state fleet and a pirate vessel was very blurry during the golden age of piracy. Even into the times of old Admiral Vernon, who authored our rum drink, the Noble Grog drink, right? Even in his time, the line between being a respectable naval seaman and a privateer and a pirate was very blurry and very indistinct. Even then, the Spanish made frequent use of pirate power in the Caribbean, even though they were the naval superpower of the day. So these states gave pirates what are called letters of marque and reprisal, a photograph of one you see here, which gave them license to attack and capture vessels at war with the issuing government, right? So if I was a pirate captain and I was able to get a letter of marque and reprisal from the British government, that meant that any country that was currently at war with Britain, Britain was giving me permission to commit piracy against vessels that fly their flags. Okay, Pirates were essentially employed as mercenaries, these were called privateers, to disrupt rival nations' activities in parts of the world that were too far away for the state to project its own power with its own navy. Fiction and media often treats going privateer as selling out of the pirate life. For example, Captain Barbarossa in the fourth Pirates of the Caribbean film, right? When he accepts a letter of marque and reprisal, it's treated, you zoom in on Captain Jack Sparrow's face and he can't believe it because Barbossa's sold out. He's betrayed the pirates and the pirate code, right? This is how going privateer is often portrayed. But in reality, letters of marque were extremely common and they were widely sought after by pirates. Pirates wanted them, right? Because these letters of marque and reprisal gave pirate crews access to safe ports and stable markets, right? They didn't have to sneak into towns to sell their goods. They didn't have to go through a fence, right? They didn't have to beach their ship and hold up on desert islands and dodge patrols from enemy fleets, right? They could just, if you had the right by the French government to conduct piracy on their behalf, you could just pull up into Tortuga, which was a well-developed port, a well-developed city, had good markets where you could sell your plunder, where you could liquidate your assets and split your coins, right? And where you had a fortress with huge walls and huge cannons to protect you if if the Spanish fleet or the British fleet came chasing after you, right? Privateering was furthermore viewed not as a betrayal of the pirate's life, which, pirates didn't even view it that way. That's a fabrication of Hollywood for reasons that we previously discussed. Privateering was viewed as an honorable profession, and it actually provided a pathway to a safer or legitimate livelihood, right? You might be rewarded with a naval commission as an officer. You may be rewarded by a country that you did good privateering work for with a little bit of land, maybe even the governorship of your own little island, right? Or your own sugar plantation. That would be a lot better than risking your life sailing the high seas, getting into, boarding enemy ships, risking losing a hand, losing a leg, or losing your life, right? Nobody who's intelligent actually wants that. The line between being a pirate, a privateer, and a naval sailor, as I said before, was quite blurry. If a French privateer was captured by the Spanish authorities, they would be tried and hanged as a pirate, regardless of their legitimacy in the eyes of the French state. Right? So if you conduct piracy against a country and they capture you, their authorities capture you, doesn't matter. You could have all sorts of letters of marque and reprisal, even a letter of marque and reprisal for that country, and they would say, no, you conducted piracy, we're going to put you on trial, we're going to hang you as a pirate. Many pirates and privateers were former naval sailors, especially among the lower ranks. Serving aboard a naval vessel was hard, demeaning, and it paid very poorly. Many sailors of humble birth were willing to brave the extra risk of a pirate's life, where they would be respected, better paid, and more opportunity for advancement, or maybe in the future settling down for a more prosperous and comfortable living. Pirate captains actively used this fact in their recruitment. In fact, Bartholomew Roberts, a famous pirate in the early part of the golden age of piracy in the Caribbean, specifically said, you can either toil away with poor wage, hard work, face the lash of an aristocratic officer who just wanted to beat you up because you're of a lower station than he is, no opportunity for advancement because you don't come from a good family, or you can come and sail with me, have rights on the crew, get promotions based on your skill and your merit, and have a share in the plunder. You'll be paid according to what our plunder is, according to your skill. Successful privateer vessels might later be incorporated into the state fleet proper, and officers of these privateer ships would be offered lucrative rewards such as ranks, titles, or land. However, just move on to the pirate code here. However, there might have been pirate crews that were run meritocratically or even democratically. There was very little in history to suggest that pirate crews had much interest in banding together and building a new society on this basis. There are some legends of pirate utopias. We're going to get into the most famous one a little bit later, but there's little evidence that this is actually true. Pirate havens like Port Royal in Jamaica or Tortuga in modern day Haiti were operated by colonial authorities. They were not self-governing, right? So forget what you think of Tortuga in Pirates of the Caribbean. It was a French government run. It was a French colony, right? Pirate codes are often misunderstood as some kind of constitution that governed how pirate crews interacted with each other and formed some sort of a basis for pirate nationhood. Rather, these were simply contracts sailors signed when joining a pirate crew, and they varied widely from ship to ship, right? Essentially, this was an agreement that you signed with your pirate captain when you signed on to a pirate or a pirate privateer crew. And they're decidedly unsexy, right? They're decidedly really mundane, as much as, you know, in pirate fiction it's like, oh, the pirate's code, and it's like this revered document. You can see here some of what the pirate code of Bartholomew Roberts actually says, which is that you're not allowed to play dice games or card games. You're not allowed to have candles lit at night, or when the captain says that you're not allowed to drink after hours, things like that, right? If you get into a fight with another crewmate, here are the rules for how we resolve it. Kind of boring, right? So that's the Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't want to touch on the Pirates of the Caribbean for too long because that is well-trodden ground. I want to move on now instead to piracy in a couple parts of the world that's a little bit less touched on. We'll spend a little bit more time on these, and this is where we'll actually talk about individual pirates as well. So the first thing we're going to talk about is piracy in the Mediterranean, which is very, very different from what we're accustomed to when it comes to piracy in the Caribbean. With all that we just talked about with pirates in fiction and even pirates and privateers in reality, this is not the kind of scene we would expect to see upon a pirate vessel. These workers being lashed, being abused by their officers. You have this well-dressed, probably aristocratic captain sort of just sitting at the front, lounging, while these people toil at the oars. Right? And this was really the reality of piracy in the Mediterranean. Right. So piracy in the Mediterranean was a constant, low-intensity extension of the religious violence between Christians and Muslims that began with the First Crusade in 1096 and lasted until the French conquest of Algiers in 1830. Right? So we have about an 800-year span of time that we're talking about here. Those darn Christians, well, listen, the Christians committed the piracy as well. Okay? Pirates in this region were popularly referred to as corsairs, which is a French word for raider. Okay, so this is where the word corsair comes from. It's the Mediterranean. There weren't really corsairs operating in the Caribbean. That was a different thing. They were just called pirates there. So, like in the Atlantic and the Caribbean, piracy in the Mediterranean was conducted by privateer crews sponsored by states that lacked the organized naval power to pursue their interests directly. Piracy in this region was dressed up in religious terms rather than patriotism, right? So Venice, Genoa, and the Knights of St. John cast themselves as defenders of Christendom when they committed acts of piracy against Muslim ships and Muslim settlements along the North African and Middle Eastern coast. Muslim corsairs were cast as striking back against Christian attacks on Islam during the Crusades in the Middle East and the Reconquista in Iberia. Corsair crews were both on both sides of the religious divide did not have the democratic character of the pirates that we discussed earlier, however. So far we've talked about Mediterranean piracy in historically idealist terms, of holy war and defense of one's faith, but a materialistic examination can tell us a lot about why piracy in the region took on a more oppressive and brutal nature. So once again, diving back into the profession of history and what academic history looks like and the philosophy of history, there's two different ways that you can look at history. You can look at it through a lens of ideals, like religion, like values, like cultures, and you can think to yourself about how certain cultures, certain religions, certain groups of people, right, certain values motivate people to act in a certain way. The other way you can look at it, which, for me as a historian is probably, I don't put all my eggs in one basket. I'm not a materialist or an idealist fully. I think you need to be a little bit of both. You need to be open to both views. However, I do tend to lean more towards the materialistic view, which is that the rationales, the reasons for historical people making the choices that they do and acting in the way that they do, whether these people are individuals or whether they're governments, whether they're military commanders, is down to material conditions. And if we take a material look at a material comparison of piracy in the Caribbean versus piracy in the Mediterranean, we can see why piracy in the Caribbean had this democratic, egalitarian, meritocratic nature, whereas piracy in the Mediterranean was a lot more oppressive and a lot more brutal. Hey Sleepy, welcome to the stream. Hope you're ready to strap yourself in and learn some history. Alright, so while Caribbean plunder came in the form of gold, silver, and lucrative luxury products like sugar and tobacco, which we discussed previously, the main form of wealth to be won in the Mediterranean was slaves, right? The main form of plunder was people. Either people to sell back to their home country as ransoms, or people to sell on foreign slave markets, right? The ancient cities in all corners of the Mediterranean coastline, from Europe to the Levant to North Africa, teemed with people ripe for the taking. And all Mediterranean societies used slave workforces. And the expansion of labor-intensive agriculture in the Caribbean, South America, Mexico, and the southern United States rapidly increased the demand for the slave trade from the 16th century to the 19th century. So shortly after the medieval period, in the 1500s all the way to the 1800s, the expansion of the practice, oh my goodness, Serpent Cloud, welcome Serp, welcome Raiders. How is Deep Rock Galactic? Let's give this clip a watch.
I don't even talk to him much anymore, but
15 seconds left.
yeah, he told me to stop.
Oh my goodness, Serp, what a play, Serp. What a play. That's an old clip. Yeah, the clip player just grabs randos. It's so weird. Just random old clips. Man, how is Deep Rock? I gotta get back into that game. I love playing Deep Rock with you so much. It's so much fun. 2.27 popes per square mile as the city is only 0.44 kilometers. Ooh, you're rich. Right on. So we just got finished talking about piracy in the Caribbean. We're talking about piracy in the Mediterranean now, Serp. So yeah, welcome Raiders. If you don't know me, I'm Ghost Pepper. I play lots of RPGs, survival crafting games. I've been getting into Sea of Thieves, play games like Deep Rock Galactic as well. So yeah, I play retro RPGs too. I'm the dungeon master of a streaming campaign that happens every Tuesday, a streaming D&D campaign called The Winds of Chaos. And yeah, tonight is a special stream. Tonight is a history corner stream because I'm a history teacher. I'm a historian by education. I love history, and the community asked to do a stream about the history of piracy. So that's what we're doing tonight. So please settle in, get your comfies out, wrap yourself in a blanket. I made some traditional naval grog. This isn't Serpent's chat. Serpent raided into Ghost Pepper. Welcome, Victoria. All right. So we were just talking about how piracy in the Caribbean, right? The Pirates of the Caribbean tended to be a lot more democratic, egalitarian. Jam raided into Serpent Cloud. Oh, well, welcome double raiders. I'm watching Ghost Pepper. People leave. Now I'm sad. Yeah. This is everybody from Blue Clover's stream. This is everyone from Jam's stream. Well, welcome everybody. Oh my goodness. I do want to become famous. Actually, I don't. I'm terrified of becoming famous. I would not want that. That's okay. Yeah, let's do a Pretendier. Welcome. How are you doing? Yeah, Megan, do you want to do a shout out for Blue Clovers? I want to live forever. It's just SO. Yeah, it's just SO, not shout out. There we go. Art. Check this out.
Worcestershire.
Worcestershire?
Can y'all agree on how it's said, please?
It's Worcestershire. Yeah, it's Worcestershire.
Okay.
It's Worcestershire.
Great.
Because it comes from Worcester. That's how they pronounce it in England. Yeah, it's Worcestershire. No, I've been exposed. Oh no. Massachusetts. Worcester, Massachusetts. Yeah. Worcestershire. Okay. So folks, we're get your comfys out. We're tonight we're doing a history corner stream. We're just talking history about the history of pirates. So we were just talking about how piracy in the Caribbean had this sort of pirate crews in the Caribbean were more meritocratic, right? Officers were elected based on their capabilities, based on their experience. It was a little bit more democratic. Crews, there were certain decisions that crews made democratically, and it was a lot more egalitarian. You as serving as a pirate crew, you had an equal share to the loot as other people on your crew. Most other people, the captain got 2 shares, the upper officers got like 1.5, things like that. Whereas piracy in the Mediterranean was a lot more oppressive and brutal in nature. And now that was because, and we're about to take a look at the material conditions in the Caribbean versus the Mediterranean to decode why that was. Okay, so we talked about how Caribbean plunder came in the form of gold, silver, and lucrative luxury products like sugar and tobacco, but the main form of plunder to be won in the Mediterranean was in slaves. The ancient cities in all corners of the Mediterranean coastline, from Europe to the Levant to North Africa, were teeming with people ripe for the taking. All Mediterranean societies, and indeed all European and most African societies, and all Middle Eastern societies for that matter, did use slave workforces. Don't let anybody fool you and say that slavery was abolished, or replaced by feudalism. It wasn't. And the expansion of labor-intensive agriculture in the Caribbean, South America, Mexico, and the southern United States, I'm talking about sugar plantations, tobacco plantations, and cotton plantations here,
rapidly increased the demand in the slave trade from the 1500s through to the 1800s. Is serfdom not just justified slavery? Pretty much. Pretty much. It's like, it is, but it isn't. It has the trappings of... I'll go into that another time, Flannelsaurus. There are some differences, but you might be... You would make a solid argument by saying that it's a distinction without a real difference. No, don't be sorry at all. Don't be sorry at all. For me, though, the key factor behind the meritocracy of Caribbean pirate crews versus the oppressiveness of Mediterranean pirate crews is in the difference between the types of ships that they used, right? And here's where a maritime climatological look at what kind of ships they used, because they had to use those kinds of ships, they're the best kind of ships to use, actually affected the culture of these pirate crews. Right. So maritime conditions in the Atlantic, in the Indian Ocean, and the Caribbean favored sail-powered ships like sloops and brigs, right? That mainly moved... you have to be sorry, it's in the Constitution. Yeah. Okay, so ships that relied on sail power to move, were more common in these regions, and these included ships like sloops and brigs. These ships needed smaller crews to operate, but the sailors of these ships had to be quite skilled in order to effectively operate them, right? So there wasn't any sense in just packing more crew members, especially unskilled crew members, onto these sailing ships, because, you know, if one person doesn't know how to screw in a light bulb, bringing in 5 more people who don't know how to screw in a light bulb isn't going to get that light bulb screwed in, right? You know, bringing in tons of people who don't know how to operate sail riggings isn't going to make your sailing ship operate more effectively. You're better off as a pirate captain recruiting people who, you know, fewer crew members, but more skilled, higher quality crew members, right? So this incentivized pirates and privateers to offer competitive pay and favorable working environments to attract the most capable and professional sailors. The fact that sailors were paid in shares of plunder, right? So they weren't paid in wages, they were paid in potential shares of the plunder that they got, encouraged them to work all the harder to sharpen their skills. Conversely, maritime conditions in the Mediterranean favored oar-powered ships, like the highly maneuverable and high-draft galley that you see pictured here. Outside of the officers and a few key positions on the ship, there wasn't much value in having skilled crews. What you needed were people who were strong and could row when the drum told them to row, right? And if they didn't row hard enough, you were more incentivized to give them a little bit of a whip, right? To push them to row that much harder. So you didn't need skilled people, you needed strong people. And all these people needed to do was be able to rhythmically move their oar in the beat of a drum. I don't know any sea shanties. You're listening to sea shanties right now. Quite the opposite. Muslim and Christian corsairs relied on their crew's numbers, not each sailor's capability, to overwhelm their victims. Since quantity of manpower is more important to a corsair captain than quality, they're incentivized to use the cheapest sailors possible. And what is cheaper than free? I'm talking about slaves here, slave oarsmen. And focus their crew management styles not on things like social mobility or a better share of plunder, promotions on the ship, good working conditions, right? The captain and officers are better to spend their focus not on those things, but on compliance
and discipline on their ship, with a lash if necessary. And since brutality tends to feed itself, a pirate's life in the Mediterranean trade tended to be quite a lot more violent and cutthroat than in many of the other waterways. So now we're going to turn to talk about 3 famous pirates of the grog is delicious. I actually really like this drink. This might make it into my permanent rotation because it's pretty tasty. It's pretty tasty. It's like a rum and coke with a lime in it, but with less of the sickly sweet. What? I asked you what? What did I ask you? Oh, he asked you. Okay. I'm just saying it has like this less of the sickly sweet of Coke and a lot more sort of fruit forward, which I like. So we're going to talk about 3 famous pirates here in the North African Muslim pirate trade, right? And they're all what are called Barbary corsairs, right? They come from the Barbary coast. Some most infamous Mediterranean pirates were the Barbary corsairs, Muslim pirates who operated out of the North African ports from Morocco to Libya in the modern day. While the North African coast was a hub for pirate activity since the Middle Ages, the high point of the Barbary corsairs came after the Ottoman-sponsored conquest of Algiers in 1516. And Algiers is located, let's see if I think Algiers is I can't see it, but I think it's located somewhere around here. Right? Certainly somewhere in this blue point here, but I think right here. Okay? It's a modern city. I think it's the capital city of Algeria today. Okay. I lost my place. Okay. We're going to take a look at 3 prominent corsairs who were active in this era. The 2 of them kind of go together because they're brothers. Does the word Barbary have anything to do with barbarians? The answer is no. Okay. The word barbarian comes from a ancient Greek pejorative joke or stereotype of ancient peoples, likely Scythians, who were Iranian horse archers, frequently hired as mercenaries by the Greek city-states, right? And to the Greeks, the sort of joke from the Greeks is that the Scythian language sounds like they're just saying bar, 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 right? Just like we today will kind of say, like, you know, if somebody is French, right, we'll go like, oh, or oui, baguette, right? The Greeks would say bar, 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 about the way that Scythians speak, and that's where barbarians come from. The Barbary coast, the Barbary coast is derived. The word Barbary is derived from the word Berber, which is the name of the people who live in that area, the Berber people. So that's a great question, though, Flannelsaurus. Thanks for asking. All right. So the first 2 we're going to talk about are kind of a package deal because they're brothers who operated together. And they are the Barbarossa brothers. Barbarossa, which is Italian for Redbeard. And this is where the pirate Redbeard comes from, the legend of the pirate Redbeard. Redbeard was actually a title held by 2 people, right? So the Barbarossa brothers were 2 Ottoman sailors of mixed Turkish and Greek ancestry named Urus and Hizir. They earned fame in the Muslim world and fear in the Christian world for their raids on the Italian, French, and Spanish coasts. The older brother was Urus, and for his exploits in helping Muslims in Granada, which was recently reconquered by Spain. Granada is a territory in modern-day southern Spain that was the last Muslim kingdom in Spain that had recently been reconquered in the early 1500s. And so Urus had this policy of
during his raids, actually sneaking up to the coast of Granada, which had recently been reconquered by Spain, where the Muslim population was being oppressed by the new Catholic monarchy, and Granada, probably named after the country of Spain, I don't know. And he would sneak these Muslims out of the country in a sort of underground railroad, and transport them down to North Africa, down to the Islamic states in North Africa. And so for his exploits in these adventures, the elder brother, Urus, was given the nickname Baba, or father. Okay, and so he had this nickname as he was sailing around and looting and plundering of being called Baba Urus. Eventually, the name evolved in Spain, France, and Italy into Barbarossa, or Barbarossa. Baba Urus, Barbarossa, or Redbeard in Italian. In 1516, the Barbarossa brothers liberated the city of Algiers from the Spanish, whereupon Redbeard conquered the whole Algerian coastline from Christian and Muslim rulers alike and set himself up as king of the region. To protect himself from a massive reprisal by Spain for this, he offered to join his new territory to the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Sultan accepted and established Barbarossa as governor. But although Algiers was now officially a province of the Ottoman state, it was effectively a pirate kingdom under Redbeard's control. Redbeard was killed in battle against the Spanish in 1518, and his younger brother Hizir took over his position as governor of Algiers, commander of Urus's corsair fleet, and he even took on the name of Redbeard. And although he was the younger brother and the second holder of the title of Redbeard, he went on to become an even greater military legend in the Ottoman and Muslim world than his brother did. So Hizir continued his brother's policy of smuggling Muslim refugees from southern Spain to Algiers, and this, combined with Turkish reinforcements and a mandate from the Ottoman Sultan to evict the Spanish from North Africa, made him the leader of a tremendously powerful military force. After defeating several attempts by Spain and its allies to retake Algiers, the new Redbeard and his corsair fleet achieved naval supremacy for the Ottomans in the western Mediterranean. The Algerian corsairs were later incorporated into the Ottoman fleet, and the younger Redbeard became one of the Ottoman Empire's most famous admirals. Okay, so a very, very storied career by these two sailors. Now we're going to move on to talk about one of my favorite historical pirates, the pirate queen, Sayyida al-Hurra. So Sayyida al-Hurra was the ruler of the northern Moroccan city of Tétouan and an ally of the Barbarossa brothers. So she was alive at the same time and was an ally of the Barbarossas. So Sayyida was born in Spain to a prominent Muslim family, and around the age 7, that family fled to Morocco as refugees after the fall of Granada in the Spanish Reconquista. At age 16, she was married to the middle-aged governor of Tétouan. So she was married to a man about 30 years her senior, which was common in Islamic society at the time. Now, owing to her intelligence and her first-class education, she became an invaluable and very visible assistant to her husband in ruling the city. In fact, whenever her husband had to leave the city on business or for political or diplomatic affairs, her husband put her in charge. And so the people of Tétouan became really accustomed to seeing this young woman exercise power in the city as the city's sort of co-ruler. And so when her husband died in 1515, the city's population already viewed her as co-governor and accepted her rule. The people of the city gave her the nickname Sayyida al-Hurra, or woman who bows to no authority. Now, historians kind of speculate that her unusual degree of political power in the Muslim world may have been down to how female rulership was somewhat normalized in Spain, both Muslim Spain and Christian Spain. And so we can point to Christian rulers like Joan of Navarre in the Middle Ages, and Queen Isabella of Castile, who was alive at this time, who is somebody who is alive at the same time as Sayyida al-Hurra, as sort of Christian exemplars of the fact that in Spanish culture, having strong women take on positions of political power was not that uncommon. And so to the exiled Grenadins and Andalusian Muslims in North Africa, Sayyida al-Hurra was not an anomaly whatsoever. It was very normal for them to accept a woman as a political leader. Now, al-Hurra turned to piracy as a means of revenge against Spain, and in the hope that she and her fellow Muslim refugees might one day retake Granada from the Spanish. Something that we know never happened, right? Spanish became a Catholic nation, and continued to be a Catholic nation ever since then, and the Muslims never reconquered Granada afterwards. However, she always held out hope that that might happen, and when the Barbarossa brothers arrived on the scene in 1516, she saw an opportunity to hitch her cart to their horse and join them on their pirate adventures. As a corsair, Sayyida al-Hurra was a prominent ally of the Barbarossa brothers, to the point where she controlled the western half of the Barbary corsairs' operational area, which included the Straits of Gibraltar, and she was the sole point of contact for European diplomats to negotiate ransom and return of Christian captives seized by any corsairs in the Western Mediterranean. And so the Barbarossa brothers were so impressed with her, and she was such an invaluable ally to them, essentially their number two in the Corsair fleet, that she had control over half of their operations. And when Christian diplomats wanted to negotiate ransom and return for their captives, she was the one that they had to negotiate with. And so that's Sayyida al-Hurra, really, really interesting woman, the pirate queen of Morocco. In fact, when she remarried to the king of Fez, she didn't want to leave her city. She didn't want her people to think that she was going to abandon them once she became the wife of this more powerful king and go live in Fez. So she forced the king of Fez to come to Tétouan, to come to her to perform the marriage, which was the first time any Moroccan king had been married outside of Fez. All right, so let's talk about the end of the Barbary Corsairs and the end of piracy in the Mediterranean. As would also happen in the Caribbean, the age of piracy on the Barbary coast ended when state navies grew powerful enough to actually stop it. So when the states in the region grew powerful enough to actually exercise control over the waterways and actually protect maritime trade from piracy, that is the end of piracy right there, right? Because pirate ships are no match for fully stocked, fully manned, fully outfitted, and generously supplied naval fleets. The Corsair threat to American shipping in the Atlantic, so we're talking about in the late 1700s now, America, revolution happened, War of Independence is over, America is now an independent nation, right? The Corsair threat to American shipping in the Atlantic led directly to the founding of the United States Navy in 1794, whose first mission was to apply pressure in the Barbary states into signing peace treaties, right? So the first ever mission of the U.S. Navy, and in fact the reason why the U.S. Navy was even created in the first place, was to sail into the Mediterranean Sea throw a few cannonballs at those cities and pressure the Barbary states into signing treaties with America that said that they would no longer harass American shipping and capture and enslave American sailors. It's why we have the Treaty of Tripoli, which is America's first. Its first foreign treaty was with Britain, the Jay Treaty. So I suppose it would be the second foreign treaty in American history, which was with the Barbary pirates that established separation between church and state, where it said that America is not a Christian nation. And that had to be in the treaty because of, once again, we talked about the ideological character of Mediterranean piracy, where Muslim corsairs viewed themselves as punching back against Christian crusaders and reconquistadors, right? And so by America saying, hey, we're not a Christian nation, it allows the Barbary states to tell the pirates operating in their ports that, hey, don't attack them. They're not the enemy, right? They're not a Christian nation. Neon Medusa, thank you so much for the 10 bits. That is so generous of you. Oh man, you're always coming in here and throwing bits. That's amazing. You're an amazing person. Thank you so much. All right. So those treaties, no. Don't be sorry that you're late. I'm just glad that you're here. You can be as late as you need to be. Even if you showed up at the very last second, I would be equally glad that you're here. So, talking about that American mission over to the Barbary Coast, that is also why in the U.S. Marines anthem, they talk about the shores of Tripoli. It's like the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. So Tripoli, of course, is part of that Barbary Coast. It's that mission that's referring to, right? And so these treaties that the American government signed with the Barbary pirates came at a substantial cost to the new nation. And here's a really interesting fact for you that I didn't know before this. In the year 1800, payments in ransom for captured American sailors and tributes to the Barbary states as a condition for these peace treaties totaled 20% of the US federal government's expenses for the year 1800. Isn't that amazing? 1/5 of all the money that the US government spent, the US federal government spent in the year 1800 was for ransoms to get those American sailors back and to secure the Barbary states' agreements to sign those treaties that will end piracy and predations upon American vessels. Keeping in mind that the U.S. federal government was extremely small in the year 1800 compared to the state governments, right? So the amount of money that we're talking about is much, much, much smaller. But still a massive, massive sum that America had to pay to ensure the end of Barbary piracy. Now, after the Napoleonic Wars and the Congress of Vienna in 1815 that reshaped Europe after Napoleon's fall, the European nations resolved to end Mediterranean piracy altogether. And so numerous naval operations by Britain, France, Spain, and the Italian Kingdom of Sardinia-Piedmont culminated in the French conquest of Algiers in 1830 and the end of the corsair threat in the Mediterranean. All right, let's take a moment to have a real quick intermission at this point, and then we'll move on to talk about piracy in the Indian Ocean and in the South China Sea. I'm not making more grog. Maybe I'll make more grog. I still have a lot of grog. Maybe I'll make more. I'll make more grog. All right, 5-minute intermission for me to make more grog. If you want the recipe for grog to make your own, let me go during the intermission. There you go. The bottom recipe. The bottom recipe for grog. All right? You can make your own grog at home and join me for a hearty pirate drink afterwards.
It's me, First Mate Mad Meg. Hi, chat! I decided to come down here while Ghost is upstairs making me more grog, since I pretty much demanded that he make me more grog. And because Ghost totally, glossed over this when I was talking about it in chat, I want to take a minute to talk about sea shanties. This is not necessarily pirate related, but it is related to the age of sail and sailing ships. So I'm gonna take a minute to talk about that because I have fallen down many a internet hole in my time, and one of my recent ventures was in sea shanties, because I may or may not be writing a bunch of space operas that involve spaceships, and my thoughts on the evolution of sea shanties. But while we listen, yeah, I'm the captain now. While we listen to, I know the internet like had this huge like sensational love of sea shanties recently as well. So while we listen to them and think that they're very catchy tunes and they get stuck in our head, I know the Wellerman got very, very popular recently, and earlier someone was playing What Do We Do With a Drunken Sailor? I believe it was Woof's Walk On Sound. What Do We Do With a Drunken Sailor? Early in the morning. So while a lot of sea shanties to us are just earworms, on ships they actually served a practical purpose. And if you were someone who was unfamiliar with the inner workings of a ship, people have often described work on a sailing ship, especially old ships that were rigged with sails and knots and ropes and all those kind of things, not modern day metal ships. There were a lot of things that had to happen in exact sequence, in exact conjunction with each other, very precisely timed in order to keep a ship moving smoothly. And this was the function of sea shanties, believe it or not. The sea shanty was sometimes sung just to pass time, especially if someone was, say, pumping the bilge. There were some sea shanties that were sung simply to pass the time. Wellerman, which I'd mentioned before, is an example of this, one that was sung just to pass the time. In Wellerman, the chorus says, soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Tonguing was basically when the crews were chopping up the parts of the whale back when whaling was still a thing. That was called tonguing. So this was a song that would have been sung while the crew was tonguing. They would have been chopping up the meat and the pieces of the whale and preparing them to be sold, and this was a pass the time song. But there were some sea shanties that were very specifically timed, and so there would be actual commands in sort of like the downbeat of a specific sea shanty, and this was how people would know to take action. So the crew would sing the sea shanty and they knew to push or pull at a specific time, and this was how they timed their actions on the ship to make sure that they were very specific and happening in conjunction. And this is how you could take a very chaotic setting and actually cause it to move with synchronicity in a time before we had all of the sort of modern things that we would use to do that now. And Ghost was mentioning earlier that when the slaves were rowing, it would be to the timing of the drum. This is something very similar, although obviously it wouldn't be slaves, it would be the crew. And this is how you could have people who were slightly less skilled who were doing these things with perfect precision because they had a guide. And so if you look up sea shanty on Wikipedia, you can see which sea shanties were actually used for this purpose. And I believe one of the primary, like, really popular ones that when I was looking it up was mentioned was Blow the Man Down. which is a song that I'm familiar with. You're probably familiar with. There are actually places in Blow the Man Down where you're supposed to take action, push or pull or do whatever you're doing at your station. And there's one other sea shanty that I want to mention because Ghost isn't back yet, and that is Leave Her, Johnny, Leave Her. So this is a really interesting song. You can look it up on YouTube. There's some interesting versions of it. This was a song that was sung at the end of a voyage when the crew were putting in to port and they're getting ready to leave their ship for shore leave. They're gonna be away from the sea for a while, and this is the song they would sing during the final, I think it was during the final pumping shift, but probably it eventually sort of became a tradition to sing it as the crew were putting into port. And this is a song basically about how sea life isn't the best, because you know sailors really like the sea, and they talk about their longing for the sea and how the sea is the sailor's mistress, and while they're home all they do is long to go back out to the sea. So this is sort of the inverse of that. It's very interesting because it's not something that comes up very often. And so if you look at the lyrics for Leave Her, Johnny, Leave Her, it's talking about how, you know, the rations are bad, you know, they're riddled with worms and they've gone stale, and how the ship is taking on water, and how basically life at sea has become, you know, not that appealing. It's not great out there. The wages are low is one of the things that it talks about. And it talks about how everyone's basically packing up, you know, they're putting into shore, and it's time for us to leave her. Leave her, Johnny, leave her. It's time for us to leave her. So that's some interesting information that I found out about. I know, right? I love learning stuff too. Obviously, this is nowhere near as deep or in depth as the stuff that Ghost is talking about. He's done all the really heavy lifting and really cool stuff. But this was something I found out while I was doing research for some novel stuff that I thought was really cool. And of course, one of the funner sea shanties that I was talking about earlier is What Do You Do with the Drunken Sailor, right? And it would be a song that they would sing maybe the next morning after people have gotten rowdy, drunk a bit of grog. There's lots of suggestions for what you do with a drunken sailor. Do you put him in the brig till he sobers up? Do you put him in the bed with the captain's daughter? Early in the morning? Fish in the sea, not one I'm familiar with. Probably will look it up when I get back to my computer because I too like to learn things. But I thought this was a cool little fact, and when Ghost was mentioning basically unskilled labor on a ship, it brought that to mind for me. So that's well, I'm gonna look that one up when I get back to my computer, Neon, and I'm gonna listen to it. I'm always looking for new sea shanties. Like, those are my earworms. They just get in my brain. And I like to think about, because I write a lot of sci-fi, I like to think about how would those sea shanties transform in the space age? How will astronaut crews pass the time with variations of sea shanties? What will be the space age version of the Wellerman? So I just love talking about that kind of stuff. Ghost is back with my green. I hijacked your stream a little bit. I hope you don't mind. Cheers.
My stream has been pirated.
Enjoy, guys. Thanks for listening to me.
Woof. Get out of here. Alright, so I'm back with my grog, round 2. Once again, for anybody who missed it, grog did not originate as a pirate drink. It was an official, it was created as an official order
of the British Royal Navy. And Admiral Edward Vernon, nicknamed Old Grogram, by the fact that he wore a coat made of grogram, I guess. That's what I was able to find, some material that they called grogram at the time, lends his name to it. As a way to, so sailors were drinking their rum ration all at once and getting drunk, and that was causing problems with crew disciplines and health aboard Royal Navy ships operating in the Caribbean. And so old Grog, Admiral Vernon, issued an order that sailors should drink their rum this way, or roughly this way. This is a modified recipe. So yeah, if you want to make that at home, I'm going to be posting my recipe for it on the Discord as well. I love this drink. I actually do. I was surprised because it's like, it's a like a cocktail from the 1740s, written, like, made for sailors aboard Navy ships, written as an order by high command. Like, how good could it be? Obviously, with a few tweaks and modifications, it's actually quite good. So Sleepy and Neon are getting Streamloots packs. You're loading up fish in the sea right now. Oh, sea shanties. See, I thought about whether I should play some sea shanties on stream, and now true, authentic, old-time sea shanties are in the public domain. But performances of the sea shanties are not. This is what I learned, right? So if there is a recording of somebody singing a sea shanty, they own the copyright to that recording. So it's pretty sketch in that regard. Pretty difficult to do, to have a stream where we look at that. Okay, who are they? Sleepy, and who gets the other one? Neon. Okay, they're trading. Okay. Here we go. Stream loots. You know what? 1,500 is close to 5,000, right? Between the two of them. I have enough grog in me. I'm feeling generous. We've got about 20 users in chat. Why doesn't everybody just take one? Here you go. Everybody just grab a Streamloots pack. I could have sung one myself. Sarah, is there a rude one about Woof? I would sing that. Hi, Sleepy. Alright. Let's get back to where we were. We talked about these guys. End of the piracy in the Mediterranean. End of the Barbary Corsairs. I'm not singing you a song. Alright, what do we do? Shiraz! Okay. Hey, what will we do with the drunken? With the drunken woof? With the drunken woof? It doesn't work. It doesn't work anymore if we say woof. At the drunken, it's woof. What will we do with the drunken? It's woof. What will we do with the drunken? It's woof. What will we do with the drunken? It's woof early in the morning. Way, hey, and up he rises. Way, hey, and up he rises. Way, hey, and up he rises early in the morning. Shave his belly with a rusty razor. Shave his belly with a rusty razor. Shave his belly with a rusty razor early in the morning. Way, hey, and up he rises. Way, hey, and up he rises. Way, hey, and up he rises early in the morning.
Put him in a longboat till he's sober. Put him in a longboat till he's sober. Put him in a longboat till he's sober early in the morning. Way, hey, and up he rises. Way, hey, and up he rises. Way, hey, and up he rises early in the morning. Hold your applause until the end, please. Stick him in a scupper with a hose pipe bottom. Stick him in a scupper with a hose pipe bottom. Stick him in a scupper with a hose pipe bottom early in the morning. Way, hey, and up he rises. Way, hey, and up he rises. Way, hey, and up he rises early in the morning. Put him in the bed with the captain's daughter. Put him in the bed with the captain's daughter. Put him in the bed with the captain's daughter early in the morning. Way, hey, and up he rises. Way, hey, and up he rises. Way, hey, and up he rises early in the morning. That's what we do with a drunken. It's with. That's what we do with a drunken. It's with. That's what we do with a drunken. It's with early in the morning. Way, hey, and up he rises. Way, hey, and up he rises. Way, hey, and up he rises early in the morning. Way, hey, and up he rises. Way, hey, and up he rises. Way, hey, and up he rises early in the morning. That's it. That's all you get. That's all you're getting. Thank you, Woof. Thank you, Woof, for for that review of this song. All right. Who's ready to talk Indian Ocean piracy? And man, thank you guys for all the. Thank you for being here. First of all, thank you for listening. Thank you for engaging. Feel free to. Oh my goodness, Neon! Don't give me bits off of that. Don't give me bits off of that. Holy, that's so bad. Ha! I don't know about amazing. But don't be afraid to ask any questions you have or make any comments that you have. I welcome it. Like, I know that I have a script. It's obvious I'm reading off a script that I made the script myself after some research. But you're not interrupting by asking questions whatsoever. Oh my goodness, Vinyl. I was hoping that you were lurking and paying attention to something else. Oh my god, Megan clipped it. Of course she did. Okay. Oh, there's two parts. Yeah, it's too long for one clip. All right. Let's talk, oh boy. Pretend dear, don't follow off of that. Oh my god. Oh my goodness, Pretend dear, welcome. Thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the Pepper Patch. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Getting the follow off of that. Jeez. Okay. Okay. Let's move on to Indian Ocean piracy. We've got two more regions to talk about, the Indian Ocean and the South China Sea. So here's the Indian Ocean trade zone. You can see in the map what some different major regions, not even countries, because Indonesia was never a country until the modern age, right? Indonesia, the country, didn't really exist until the 1950s, thereabouts. But different regions and different states within these regions, this map will show you what they exported, that's the from, and then what they imported, what they bought from foreign markets, and that's the two, right? And so you can see that there's a real diversity of different kinds of goods moving around the Indian Ocean trade zone. What this doesn't include is East Africa, right? And so East Africa, the Swahili kingdoms around modern day Kenya and Uganda and Tanzania, right? They were also active in the Indian Ocean trade, and they were trading things that you could also only get in Africa, like ivory, pelts of exotic animals, things like raw materials,
Indonesia was referred to as the Spice Islands. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Because there are a lot of spices that are native to Indonesia that were highly, highly sought after in Europe and in other markets, in every market, really. Right. So the Indian Ocean trade zone, stretching from East Africa to the Malay Archipelago, which is basically what I'm referring to as like Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines all put together, right? This is the Malay Archipelago right here. Okay. This region was the world's richest trade area, right? And that's just because of the diversity of goods flowing to and fro all the different corners in it. Okay. So we spoke earlier about how access to this trade was a key driver of Western European foreign policy from the late medieval period through to the Industrial Revolution. Bruce, thank you so much. That's so kind. That's so kind of you to say. Many of the world's oldest and most established markets traded across the Indian Ocean. We're talking markets in India, China, Indonesia, Africa, where goods may be plentiful in one region and scarce in another. So we're talking about the Persians and the Arab world, the rich Swahili trading kingdoms of East Africa. We're talking about the Indian states in India, and the Malay kingdoms and China just beyond the Indian Ocean. Piracy in pre-modern times in this region was extremely common in the waterways and its connectors, such as the Strait of Malacca and the Persian Gulf, which you can see right here. Here's the Persian Gulf right here that empties out into the Indian Ocean, and then here's the Strait of Malacca right here, which provides access from the Indian Ocean to the South China Sea, where you can then trade with China, Korea, and Japan, right? These were extremely important waterways that trading ships traffic through from ancient times, including today. Has it ever been blocked by a giant ship for a week and needed a tiny digger to clear it? No.
Nay, it has not, Mad Meg. Because as much as these look wee and tiny upon ye map, they are in fact quite large and expansive waterways, but not so large that ships from the shore can't make the voyage out and capture a ship passing by. Historical documents from China hold that any ships navigating the Persian Gulf in the 9th century carried between 400 and 500 armed men and supplies to beat off pirates. Chinese ships were able to pass through the Straits of Malacca unmolested into the Indian Ocean, but upon their return with holds filled with trade goods from Persia, Arabia, and Africa, they be swarmed by boats from the coastal towns yonder. The coastal towns yonder. Woof. Ye be treading on thin ice, me matey. Ye be walking a short plank, me hearty. In the fast-changing world of empires rising and falling apart in medieval South Asia, piracy be employed as a common tactic in war by states in a state of strife or civil war. However, the most intense period of Indian Ocean piracy began when the Europeans be arriving in the region. So almost be as if during the colonial age the Europeans made a right mess of many affairs. Folk ballads in eastern Bengal described the first Europeans to establish themselves in the Indian Ocean, these be the Portuguese, as a fearsome people, calling themselves Hamads, derived from the Portuguese word armada, who attacked local ships and raided coastal towns and cities for slaves. The Portuguese further began a policy in the Indian Ocean that would become common among Europeans operating in the region, of tasking European privateers to collect license fees from indigenous sailors to navigate their own waters. This was justified by the Europeans as a means to police troubled waters for the mutual benefit of Europeans and South Asian nations. Which you see the Europeans always be helping the less civilized folk manage their affairs, you see. In practice, this policy of using privateers to collect these fees and hunting down and punishing them indigenous ships what don't pay the fees was, in practice, an extortion scheme. Indigenous sailors either paid these exorbitant fees that would often bankrupt honest merchants and fishermen, or they'd be branded as pirates and hunted down by European-financed privateers. Now, piracy in the Indian Ocean between European ships disrupted trade for local communities, and reprisals against ports accused of harboring pirates led to them either being occupied by one European power or surrendering to another European power to rule for protection. So a port that has them French privateers off the coast making funny eyes at them might surrender themselves to the Portuguese, might beg the Portuguese to take their independence away from them in exchange for protection from them French privateers. Piracy between... I already read that point. The East African island of Madagascar and its surrounding islands be the site of many well-known havens from where pirates... the site of many well-known pirate havens from whence pirates would strike out at ships deeper in the Indian Ocean, or European vessels navigating around the coast, the southern coast of Africa, to get into the Indian Ocean from the Atlantic. One of these pirate hideouts is the likely fictitious Libertalia, or Libertatia as it be sometimes known, a utopian colony supposedly founded on what we would recognize today as anarchist principles, a classless society where all property be held in common by all people, and rules and laws were voted upon by the whole population in a form of direct democracy rather than being decided upon by an upper class or an elected parliament. Libertalia was supposed to be founded by a Frenchman by the name of James Misson, or Misson. He be a French seaman who became disgusted by the decadence of the papal court when on leave in Rome. On his next mission at sea after that little vacation in the Holy City, the warship La Victoire was transporting a radical Catholic priest who converted Misson and his crew to a belief that, and to quote yon priest, every man be born free and has as much a right to what would support him as he has to the air which he respired. The crew, radicalized by this priest's teachings, seized La Victoire in a mutiny, and they elected Misson as their captain. On their voyage south down around the western African coast, they captured a Portuguese slave ship and freed the slaves on board, adding the slaves and the slave ship to their pirate fleet. Misson's pirate band continued in the same fashion until they reached Madagascar, found favorable harbor with fertile land, and then done established the colony of Libertalia. Throughout the life of this utopian settlement, they attracted like-minded pirates and liberated many a slave ship, so that their colony grew and grew, although no man was ever able to find it. Now, your Captain Ghost Pepper here does in truth style himself as somewhat of an anarchist himself politically, and I may want to believe that a place like Libertalia may have been real. However, in truth, it almost certainly was not an actual place that existed. Historians be unable to verify the existence of Libertalia for lack of reliable sources, nor archaeological or genealogical evidence in Madagascar. In fact, they be doing DNA tests on the local populace to see if there be any descendants of European descent from such a crew that might have landed in the 1600s, and there be no success. Libertalia may have been based on actual pirate settlements located on and around Madagascar at that time. These include Port Dauphin, Ile Sainte Marie, and Ranter Bay. These be located around Madagascar and upon some islands bordering Madagascar. These all be trading posts and towns set up by former pirates in the region, and all appear in official accounts and records from that period, while Libertalia, supposedly existing at the same time, only appears in one rather dubious secondary source, Johnson's General History of Pirates, Volume 2. The attractive real-life stories of prolific pirates thwarting the authorities, then settling down on land of their own, far from reach of oppressive states, were most likely conflated, exaggerated, and ultimately romanticized into a single pirate utopia, this being Libertalia. But even fictional stories can tell us something valuable about the particular time and place in which they were told. The spread of this legend during the 17th century be reflecting a shift in popular sentiment towards European society's traditional economic and political power structures, as people began to lose their faith in the church, lose their faith in their kings, and lose their faith in the nobility. Similarly, the similarities to the story of Libertalia to the medieval ballads of Robin Hood are uncanny. Robin Hood being a fictional English commoner, not a dispossessed nobleman. That is an invention, an adaptation of the Victorian era. Okay, but Robin Hood being a fictional English commoner who embodied the yeoman class's growing consciousness and confidence in their ability to shape affairs in fair England. But if you ever lose in your faith in me, then what? Woof. What be the second part of that statement? Now, fictional. I be a pirate, I not be having the book learning. I be having what we call the sea smarts, not the book smarts. Now, Pfizer's General History of Pirates Part 2, but the advantage of the Johnson & Johnson History of Pirates be that they're only one volume. All right, I hope that was good for the accent redeem. We're gonna talk about our last pirate, which I previewed on a previous stream when Loren asked me who my favorite pirate was. So I'm gonna talk about my favorite pirate as a closeout to this stream before we go and raid somebody. And this is a Chinese female pirate, our only pirate to have a photograph. This is a photograph of an actual pirate. There'd be nothing left for you to do, of course. And this is Cheng Shi. She is beautiful, isn't she? She is beautiful. I think she's a looker. Like, this lady is a looker. She's also very dangerous. She's also very dangerous, murderous, conniving, but really, really strong. Really amazing. Okay. Now, this woman is named Cheng Shi, who had the nickname Zheng Yi Sao. I'm probably mispronouncing that. Squanchy is laughing his rear off at me as he did when I attempted to pronounce Wako. I don't know how to pronounce it. Next time I'm in a voice chat with Squanchy, he can correct my terrible pronunciation of these Chinese terms. Yeah. Zheng Yi Sao. Yeah, it's pronounced like a soft like a soft, long J, is my understanding. All right, so Zheng Yisao, or wife of Zheng Yi, is what Zheng Yisao means. And that's why I try to refer to her as Xing Shi, although Zheng Yisao is the name that's sort of more commonly applied. But I don't like the idea that she is more commonly known as the wife of Zheng Yi, when she's way more famous than Zheng Yi is, right? So Zheng Yisao, or wife of Zheng Yi, was the unofficial but actual, right? So she wasn't the official commander, but she's the actual commander of the Guangdong Pirate Confederation. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing Guangdong properly. I hope I am. I know that it's pronounced Guangzhou is the city. Guangdong, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that properly, but I'm going to give it a shot. Okay? And this pirate confederation was a pirate fleet that, under her command, exceeded 1,000 ships at its peak. She is by far the most powerful pirate that we are covering today. I think by far the most powerful pirate in all of history by count of ships. And for this, she earned herself a place in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies as this old Chinese woman who just frowns and scowls. I think that Shang Shi's portrayal in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies is criminally underrated, right? She did not get nearly as much a role as she deserved. So she was, frown scowl. I'm sitting at the table. I'm a Chinese pirate, but I say nothing the whole movie. I think she like yells something in Chinese at some point. I don't know. Whatever. It's been a while. So Xing Shi was probably Tonka, which was a Sinicized boat people, right? So they're non-Chinese, but they have been assimilated into Chinese culture and Chinese language, right? Who worked as a prostitute or a madame, it's unsure which, probably both at different times, on a floating brothel in Guangdong. In 1801, she married Zheng Yi, himself at that time a famous pirate, who fought for the Vietnamese monarchy against the Chinese Empire. And like Saida Al-Hura, who we covered earlier on in the stream, she proved to be an invaluable asset to her husband, and over time became his unofficial second in command. At least they didn't make her a laundry woman, it's true. Yeah. And was she actually dressed in a Japanese outfit in the Pirates of the Caribbean? Was she actually? That's crazy. I didn't know that. Which is actually like I know that for Chinese people paying attention, that could be potentially a big insult. Because I know there's a lot of issues with people mixing up Chinese and Japanese in movies. Yeah, it's Asian, close enough, I guess. Asian culture's all the same, right? Asians all dress the same. They all have pointy roofs. All right. Now, when yes, there's a lot of trouble when Chinese actors portray Japanese characters in films. Yeah. All Vikings are from Scandinavian. Yep. Now, when Qing Shi's husband fell overboard and drowned in 1807, Zheng Yisao took over his operations through the support of her nephews, one of whom she had a sexual relation with. The Pirate Confederation became far more active and confrontational towards Chinese authorities under Qing Shi's leadership. It operated largely in the Pearl River Delta. I'm going to show you that here, which is a region in southern China. I lost my place here. Which is a region in southern China broken up into many islands, inlets, and waterways
that were impossible for the Qing Navy to effectively control. Qing being the Qing dynasty, the ruling dynasty in China at the time. So just looking at that, that is a confusing mess right there. And you can imagine how a pirate fleet, even a pirate fleet of 1,000 strong, could easily break up and hide from the view of the Navy anywhere in that mess. The pirate threat that Xingxi posed quickly spun out of the control, and with Xingxi attacking naval vessels directly, Chinese officials did the unthinkable and appealed to the foreign barbarians, the Portuguese, based in Macau, for aid. A combined Qing-Portuguese fleet blockaded the pirates in Tongcheng Bay in 1809, which quickly turned into a stalemate as the pirates were unable to break through, while the Chinese-Portuguese fleet couldn't close in for the kill. The Qing commander sent fire ships into the pirate fleet. This was a common practice in Chinese naval tactics, where they would get some dummy ships, load them down with flammable materials, set them on fire, and send them at the enemy fleet to burn them down. So the Chinese fleet, in frustration at the stalemate, sent some fire ships at the pirates. But these were captured before they could damage the ships, and I have that portrayed in a piece of art here, right? When the winds shifted in the pirates' favor, so the pirates had the wind at their backs and towards the Chinese and Portuguese fleets, the fire ships were reignited and sent back at the blockade, burning down 2 ships in the process. Qingxi's pirate fleet was then able to exploit the opening in the blockade created by those ships burning down and escape from the Pearl Delta into the South China Sea. I think I need to catch up on what Chad is saying. Yeah. I think the remake of Karate Kid was a joint venture with the official Chinese the like Chinese film department or something. I don't know what they call it. Yeah, it was Kung Fu. Yeah. So where were we? So that's Qingxi's escape from the blockade at Tongcheng Bay, which was sort of her crowning moment. At this point, the tides had actually turned against the Pirate Confederation, and it was all sort of downhill for her then. The Portuguese reinforced their fleet in the area, so fresh ships came in from Portugal to reinforce the fleet at Macau to hunt the pirates in the South China Sea, and the British East India Company joined in the hunt. Additionally, one of the Pirate Confederation's member fleets openly rebelled against Qingxi and joined the Qing Navy. Qingxi negotiated shrewd terms of surrender with the Qing officials, seeing that her pirate days were at an end. She was eventually going to get hunted down, possibly executed as a pirate, and so it was better to negotiate her surrender. And she negotiated pretty shrewd conditions of surrender with Qing officials and assisted the government in hunting down one of her former fleet commanders who refused to go along with her and surrender. Right? I believe that was the Blue Flag Fleet, refused to surrender to Qing authorities and continued their piratical activities, which Qingxi then assisted the Qing Navy in hunting them down. And then the nice little epilogue to her life is that Qingxi used the wealth she'd earned from her days as a pirate to establish a lucrative gambling house somewhere around Guangdong, and she died a wealthy and, by all accounts, happy woman around the age of 69. So, pretty nice. Here she is again. Look at her. Look at her. This is
peak pirate right here. Yeah. Well, they don't call the traditional view of history the great man theory for nothing, right? It's all great men. All right. And that actually brings me to an end of my my material for this History Corner stream. And so we need to do one more thing. We need to do one more tradition for History Corner streams, which is to open up Microsoft Paint We need to open up Microsoft Paint, and we need to draw an MS Paint picture of our star pupil of the stream. Captain Pepper's first mate. Who be Captain Pepper's first mate? Chat decides who he or she be. So let's be grabbing our... No, that not be brown. Here we go. Who be Captain Pepper's first mate of the stream? It be a personage from chat. All first mates be personages from chat. So please nominate. He, she, or they. Thank you, Woof. He, she, or they. I be drawing the ship while you nominate. Ye be my second in command. Always second in command. But first mate be different. What? How be it different? Reasons. Reasons. It be different for reasons. This be the ship. This be the ship. This be the wood in the ship. Alright. Here be the main mast. Here be the main mast. We fill it in. Tis a nice ship. Flannelsaurus. Flannelsaurus is the first nomination. Any other nominations in? You may not nominate yourself. You may nominate somebody else. I be drawing myself first. Captain Pepper. Squanchy. Woof. Nay. Nay. This be a bad circle. A tragic circle. Flannel. I will do a poll. Indeed. Once nominations be in. So I have Flannel, Squanchy, and Woof. Any other nominees for star pupil of the stream, for first mate? Neon. Neon be in it. Anyone not want to nominate Megan? Indeed. And then what be the flannel? I be letting you use your channel points to sway the vote. 'Tis 10 channel points for an additional vote. I will set the poll for 3 minutes. The poll will be live. The poll will be live. Now, Captain Pepper, he be wearing a red hat. A red hat. Wide of brim. Wide of brim. Better than that of shape. And it be doing one of those. It be doing one of those kinds of things. we fill it in. Beautiful. Higher. Higher. 'Tis a thing of beauty. Tis a thing of beauty, that pot. With the feather. With the feather yonder. Yar. Beautiful feather. And then he be wearing a great coat of red. Nay, not like that. Let us increase. Fill this in. Nay, that be no good. That be decidedly improper. For the entire world to turn red, that be no good. And he be staring proudly at his first mate. Hands upon hips. Whomever that may be. In fact, let us show the pride. Here be the pride. Here be the pride. Flannelsaurus, ye be first mate. Ye be the star pupil of this stream. Captain Pepper be proud of ye. How much can I yeah, let's make this a little yar. Yar. That color it be. Indeed. That be the buckles. And then we have Yawn's sword. Yawn's sword. Gray upon its innards. Now we mustn't forget the most important part of Captain Pepper. Be the beard. Be the beard. Here be the beard. We will redraw the mouth. Patience, chat. And we'll make the mouth even more happy. Huzzah! Says Captain Pepper. Captain Pepper's hair has been getting a little bit long. If you haven't noticed. A little bit long hair. Let us drink grog, indeed. And he be bespectacled. Like the learned man he is. Captain Pepper. And then he be gazing proudly upon his first mate, the star pupil of the stream, Flannelsaurus. There would be the ship's ram. And here be Flannel. He be green, because he be a saurus. He be like yonder, roaring with pirate glee. No, it's Captain Pepper. Captain Pepper I drew already. Flannelsaurus be holding something in his hands. I be revealing in time what that be. Alright, we be filling this in. Arr, there it be. Now Flannelsaurus, he be wearing... I've got it. Yarr. He be wearing an overcoat of the finest flannel. But he be exposing his chest for the bonny lasses as well. Or lads, flannel. I mean not to assume. I know not. And I need know not. Now gaze and hearken upon ye. You do look amazing in this picture. In fact, we'd be doing a bit of. Did we do the dark? Let us do the light. Let us give ye some generosity. Indeed, we be having the muscular pecs, the muscular six pack. There he be. And he be holding a blade of the finest construction. There it be. There it be. A blade of pure steel. Now, we not be done yet because we must now Flannelsaurus be wearing flannel. Requires something of a pattern. Flannelsaurus, a fashionable individual. Observe, this be what flannel looks like in the mind of Captain Pepper. If ye disagree upon this being the appearance and countenance of flannel, why, I have a short plank for ye to walk. I brook no dissent upon me ship and upon me crew. This indeed be the construction of flannel. I be enjoying the epic music as I draw pajama material pirate long coat. Brathnon! Top of the morning to ye. The figurehead. We put the bonny surf. The sea calls to us, Flannelsaurus. The sea calls to us, and we must answer. Yar. Pajama pirate. The sea calls, and regardless of your long distance plan, ye be answering. Alright. And then the decoration upon the front of the ship. Here it be. Are ye ready for it? We must edit this color. Add to custom colors. Okay. We be having our brush. Alright. Here it be. Prepare yourselves for these, you little liver. It be not what you think. It be not what ye initially think. Ye be thinking, he be drawing its woof. Nay. I would never sail upon a ship with a figurehead of its woof. It be not him. It be my fair bonny lass. And although Flannelsaurus may have rightfully earned the title first mate of the stream, that hand was atrocious. Megan be forever the first mate of me black pirate heart. And she be holding, guess what? Guess what she be holding? Of course she be holding a book. Indeed. Yar. Oil UES 123 Oil lists. Thank ye for the follow. Welcome to the stream. Laird and Sprite. She be not holding the Laird and Sprite. She be not holding the Laird and Sprite. That be a crime. How ye be? Oil UES 123. Oil use. How be I saying your name? Thank ye for the follow. Welcome ye to the Pepper Patch. Welcome ye to the crew of the Pepper Patch. We be just finishing up our stream here on the history of pirates by drawing our traditional portrait of our star pupil, one Flannelsaurus, this stream. Laird and Sprite in her other hand. I not be drawing that. I not be having Laird and Sprite anywhere near me ship. Alright. I be saving this. Where be I saving it? Memes. Yes. Okay. HC02. Star pupil Flannelsaurus. Flannelsaurus. It be saved. The Grimace. The Grimace beyond me computer. Alright, me hearties. That be the end of this stream. Oh my goodness, all the cheers. All the cheers that for some reason be not going off properly during the other scenes. Capagen. Capagen, the nefarious pirate. Bruce Campbell Soup. Truly a legend amongst men. Bruce Campbell Soup, thank ye for the 300 bits. Let us observe a pirate to raid. I just exploded. Let us raid. Let us return the favor on a raid by one Joseph J. Chili. I'd be unable to fully express my appreciation for everybody who joined me on this mad journey. A crew of 17 at the end. 16 raiding. It was very generous of ye. All the generosity of the subscriptions, the bits, the follows. This was amazing. I had a lot of fun. I had much exhilaration throughout this stream. I have a piece of positivity for ye before the end of the stream. And it goes like this. It be a quote from one of me favorite fictitious pirate captains, Captain Jack Sparrow. And it be applicable to life. Remember, not all treasure is gold and silver, mate. Not all treasure is gold and silver. There be other things in life that be just as valuable treasure as gold and silver. And ye followers, ye crew, ye viewers, to me be more valuable treasure than bits and subs. Ye be me friends, and ye make me life very, very happy indeed. Your Captain Pepper believes in you and loves you. Have a wonderful evening. Spicy raid.